Chapter 1424. The tunnel in the mine was tall and wide, and if it was paved with rails, it could pass through trains. The tunnel was winding, and it ended 2 kilometers down the mountain. The space in front of him suddenly widened, and it was a large oval pit. The passageway wound around the pit until it reached the bottom of the pit. The bottom of the pit was about 50 meters from the highest point of the tunnel. It was not hard to imagine the scene of the Ahemus mining here more than 1,000 years ago. It must have been a crowded scene. Lon Tan's nest was at the bottom of the pit. Standing at the edge of the pit, Charlotte saw a nest made of branches, hay, and bones at the bottom of the pit. The two of them came to the bottom of the pit. It was extremely quiet here, and the only sound Charlotte could hear was the sound of Lon G.'s breathing. Her breathing was short and she was very nervous. Charlotte's gaze quickly swept around. He saw some spirit ores hidden in the blue rocks, but the quantity and grade were not very high. His heart was filled with confusion. That Lon Tan couldn't have come here for these spirit ores, right? This is that Lon Tan's nest. What are you looking for? Lon G spread her hands. If you want spirit ores, you can dig them now. If you want its nest, you can dismantle it now. She was obviously saying these words out of anger, but Charlotte did not care. He released the energy of the branding power and let it spread throughout the entire pit. His branding power energy field could capture the brain waves of humans and animals, and could also discover the energy fields of some special items, and even produce a resonance reaction. So, to a certain extent, his branding power energy field could also be used as a detector in certain specific environments. When the branding power energy field spread across Lon Tan's nest, the branding power energy field suddenly trembled. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. This was the vibration caused by the branding power energy field detecting something, and the energy structure was affected. His eyes jumped slightly, and his gaze penetrated Lon Tan's nest and penetrated the ground. However, his X-ray vision was also interfered with. His X-ray vision could only penetrate Lon Tan's nest, and could not penetrate the rocks below. Charlotte walked towards Lon Tan's nest. Lon G looked at Charlotte strangely. "Are you really going to destroy its nest?" Charlotte said. "If you want to leave this place earlier, then come and help me destroy the nest." Lon G The two of them took action, and Lon Tan's nest was quickly demolished. At the bottom of the nest was a bluish rock, no different from any other place. The rocks were pieced together to form an uneven ground, but the connection between them was very stable. Even with construction machinery, it would take some time to dig it out. "Haha. Can you tell me what you're looking for?" Lon G's mouth was full of sarcasm. Charlotte, on the other hand, was still staring at the rocky ground at the bottom of the big nest. His brows were tightly furrowed and he was deep in thought. Although his line of sight could not penetrate the blue rocks, his branding power energy field could still sense the mysterious energy released from below. That kind of energy seemed familiar, as if he had encountered it somewhere before, but it was only a vague feeling, and he could not make an accurate judgment. Moreover, after tearing down the nest, he stood on the rocks below the nest, and the resonance of the branding power energy field was even stronger than before. All the signs pointed to the fact that there must be something hidden under these rocks, and that Lon Tan was here to occupy the mountain and become the king because of that thing. "Let's go, we have to get out of here," Lon G said. Entering Lon Tan's nest was a wrong decision to begin with. It's not too late to correct it now. Charlotte did not move. He suddenly said, "Give me 2 of your energy pistols." "2? What are you going to do?" Lon G asked curiously. Charlotte said, "I'm going to blow up this ground." "Are you crazy?" Lon G was infuriated by Charlotte's stubbornness and inexplicability. Charlotte reached out a hand to Lon G. "I must have owed you in my previous life." Lon G smiled bitterly. In the end, she took out 2 energy pistols from her backpack and handed them to Charlotte. Charlotte removed the energy clip from one of the energy pistols and placed it in the gap between two rocks. He retreated more than 10 meters and fired a shot at the energy clip. Boom! A violent explosion rang out in the mine, causing the ground to tremble. When the smoke and dust settled, there was a huge pit in the rock ground. It was almost 2 meters deep and 1 meter in diameter. This was the effect of the energy clip that had been removed. A single shot could not achieve this effect. Charlotte came to the side of the crater and looked over. An oval-shaped rock that was pure to the extreme appeared at the bottom of the crater. It was sparkling and translucent like a beautiful jade. But this was not what attracted Charlotte. What attracted Charlotte was that it was wrapped in a crystal palm. The crystal palm lay quietly in the oval rock. It was also crystal clear, but it was a pity that he could not see through it. The mysterious energy was also emitted from the crystal palm. It gave Charlotte a familiar and mysterious feeling. Now, Charlotte finally understood why he felt this familiar feeling. It was because the crystal palm and the crystal skull he obtained in Jerusalem released the same energy. The crystal skull, the crystal palm, Charlotte was shocked. Could it be that the crystal skull is not a single entity, but a part of a crystal skeleton? If that's the case, then there should be crystal arms, soles of feet, leg bones, ribs, and so on. Where are those parts? However, the question that shocked him even more was, if there really was a crystal skeleton, what kind of skeleton would look like that? Could it be that there really was a God in this universe that transcended all living beings? There really is something. Lan Jier, who came over to see a joke, also saw the crystal palm at the bottom of the crater. She was shocked at first, then her eyes lit up. Crystal palm? Is this real? Give it to me. Without waiting for Lan Jier to jump into the crater, Charlotte had already jumped in and picked up the transparent rock. It was actually not a rock, but a substance similar to amber. It had been impacted by the explosion, and there were many cracks on its surface. When Charlotte picked it up, the cracks began to expand. Charlotte hit it twice with his fist, and the oval shell completely shattered, turning into pieces of amber fragments. The crystal palm was completely exposed. The moment Charlotte's palm touched it, his brain suddenly shook violently. It felt like someone had hit him hard with a wooden stick, and then the scene in his vision changed. The mine was gone, and Lan Jier was gone. Instead, there was a white light, and he could not see anything. What a strong light! Charlotte subconsciously raised the back of his hand to block the light, but at that moment, a face suddenly appeared in the white light, staring at him. He wanted to see what the face looked like, but he could not see it clearly at all. The face was black in the white light, and it was very blurry. Boom! The illusion disappeared in the blink of an eye. The mine was back, and Lan Jier appeared in his line of sight. The crystal palm was still in his hand, and nothing had changed. Charlotte's mind was filled with countless speculations. I saw a similar illusion in the crystal skull. Is this some kind of signal? That face, what is it? In the face of such a thing, even the most imaginative speculation was useless. Can I take a look? Lan Jier looked at Charlotte eagerly. She lay down beside the crater and extended her hand toward Charlotte, preparing to take the crystal palm. Charlotte suddenly came back to his senses and said in a stern voice, "Don't touch it." Lan Jier hurriedly retracted her hand when Charlotte raised it. Then, she said unhappily, "Stingy? I just want to take a look. I'm not asking you to give it to me." Charlotte said, "If you want to live, you'd better not touch this kind of thing. I'm telling the truth. I've come into contact with things related to it, and those people have either died or gone crazy." Lan Jier was dumbfounded. She could not believe such an absurd statement, but judging from Charlotte's reaction, she felt that what Charlotte said was true. Charlotte's gaze fell on the crystal palm again, but it was not X-ray vision. He did not dare to see through it because it would interfere with the energy field of his branding power and his brain, causing him to fall into an illusion. He observed it with his normal vision, and only then did he realize that it had not been broken by someone, nor had it been chopped off by someone. Instead, it had been removed from the joint. It maintained the complete structure of the palm, without the slightest bit of damage. An imaginary scene suddenly appeared in his mind. In the endless starry sky, a crystal skeleton was drifting. For some reason, it suddenly disintegrated. Its head flew in one direction, its arms flew in another direction, and the soles of its feet flew in another direction. There were also its leg bones and ribs. This hypothesis was quickly rejected by him because he had found the crystal skull on Earth. If there had been a crystal skull drifting in space, even if it had been decomposed, how could it have traveled through thousands of years, and who knew how far away it was to fly to Earth? Unless it had something to do with the Sky City. All the mysteries he wanted to solve seemed to be related to the Sky City. In order to solve all the mysteries and return to Earth 1,000 years ago, he had to find the Sky City. "We've got it. Let's go," Lan Ji reminded him. Charlotte shook his head vigorously and put the crystal palm into his equipment bag. Lan Ji said, "I never believed that there was anything in this mine. If there was, we alchemists should have discovered it long ago, but we didn't. So when you said you wanted to come in and take a look, I didn't believe you could find anything at all. But you actually found something. How did you know that the strange palm was hidden here?" Charlotte climbed into the crater. "Because of some information. The alchemists mined here more than 1,000 years ago, but people kept dying mysteriously in the later stages. The reason for this is still unknown. I've encountered a similar situation. People who came into contact with this thing either died or went crazy. So I had a hunch that there might be something hidden here, so I insisted on coming to take a look." He gave such an explanation, but in fact, he was not very sure himself. What he had experienced was that people who came into contact with the fragments of the world box either died or went crazy. However, the crystal skull could make people have strong hallucinations and even control their brains. In Jerusalem, it had disrupted the magnetic field and caused the detection equipment to malfunction. It had even killed Israeli explorers to achieve its goal of protecting itself. These were all evidence that it could make people go crazy like the world box or even kill them directly. Otherwise, why would Isatab and Kasha Ruiz be so afraid of it? So that's how it is. But how did you know it was hidden down there? After all, it's 2 meters underground, and it's full of inferior ores, Lan Ji said. Charlotte said, "Don't ask. Let's go. We'll be in trouble if we don't leave now." Lan Ji curled her lips in dissatisfaction. Ow. The roar of a beast suddenly came from the direction of the mine. Chapter 1425. "It's that Lan Tan," Lan Ji said in horror. Boom, 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 dull footsteps came from the direction of the cave entrance, and the ground shook with every step. The blue dragon had really returned. The battle in the canyon had ended, and Lan Tan was still alive. The winner of the battle was obviously it. Lan Tan's extremely heavy footsteps approached, and Charlotte also became nervous. If it was in the wilderness, he would still have the courage to fight Lan Tan. But in this enclosed environment, Lan Tan could take a few of his attacks, but he could not even take one of Lan Tan's attacks. Quickly think of a way. Lan Ji was so anxious that she kept stomping her feet. Charlotte's brain worked quickly. His brain gave one plan after another, and also rejected one after another. There was only one tunnel in this place, the mine. If Lan Tan came in from the mine, he and Lan Ji would probably have to step over its corpse to escape. But to fight Lan Tan in a narrow tunnel? Perhaps even Isatab would not do that. Quick, it's almost here. Lan Ji was already at a loss. Charlotte looked up at the top of the mine and suddenly said, "Go up and stick to me. We'll ambush it." Lan Ji suddenly understood, and she rushed to the rock wall closest to her. As she ran, her coat, pants, and shoes all fell to the ground. When she climbed up the rock wall, she only had the blue and black striped jumpsuit left on her. In order to survive, she was going all out. Rushing to the bottom of the rock wall, Lan Ji jumped up high, and then stuck to a smooth rock with a plop. She had just stuck herself to the rock, when Charlotte flew over from behind and landed on her back with a bang. Charlotte was only left with his underwear and the equipment bag on his back. His opponent was Lan Tan, so he did not dare to be careless. He had to give it his all. On Charlotte's back, the skin on Lanji's back, buttocks, and thighs immediately secreted the mucous membrane unique to the Ahemus. In the blink of an eye, Charlotte was glued to her back. With that degree of stability, she and Charlotte were simply conjoined people with two heads. Charlotte got on his upper body, and Lan Ji climbed to the top of the mine with her hands and feet. Charlotte held the Tai Sha bone bow in his hand, and placed a metal arrow on the bowstring. He was already prepared to fight, and was only waiting for that blue titan to appear. Lanji quickly climbed to the top of the pit, then moved to the junction of the pit and the tunnel, and finally stopped on a flat rock. This position was about 30 meters away from the tunnel and the entrance to the mine. Boom, 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 Lan Tan's footsteps echoed in the tunnel, getting closer and closer, and the frequency of the ground trembling became more and more obvious. Lanji was so nervous that she was trembling. Charlotte took out the energy pistol with the energy clip from his backpack and handed it to Lanji. "Don't be nervous. Wait for it to come in. I'll shoot it first, then you shoot it in the head. Got it?" Lan Ji nodded and then asked, "Will I die?" Charlotte moved his lips to Lan Ji's ear. "If you don't die, I'll give you a bonus of 100,000 blue moon dollars. Is what you said true?" Lan Ji's eyes shone with excitement. Charlotte nodded. "Of course I'm serious. I mean what I say. I'm going to fight it." Lanji gritted her teeth and said, then aimed the energy pistol in her hand at the junction of the tunnel and the mine. Charlotte said, "You don't understand what I mean. I'm asking you to wait for me to shoot it first before you shoot. When I shoot it, you have to stick to the rock with all your might and not move at all. Do you understand what I mean now?" Lan Ji nodded her head vigorously. 100,000 blue moon coins as a survival bonus was enough to make her smarter and sharper than before. Boom, 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 Lan Tan was getting closer and closer. The man and woman at the top of the mine held their breath. Both of them were actually very nervous. But the more nervous they were, the more focused they became, and the more sensitive their nerves became. Charlotte could clearly feel Lanji's perky buttocks pressing against his sensitive spot. It was plump, fertile, and bouncy. The mucous membrane secreted from her perky buttocks stuck him tightly to her body, one-on-one. That spot was very sensitive, and he only had a thin underwear on his body. The pitiful amount of fabric was not enough to relieve all the stimulation. Therefore, even in such an environment, at such a critical juncture of life and death, he still couldn't control himself, shamelessly getting hard. 150,000. Lanji suddenly said. Her voice was soft and her cheeks were blue. Why? Charlotte was extremely nervous. Not only was he about to face Lan Tan, who was ranked second in the Forest of Rest, but he also had to face the stimulation of Lanji, who was stuck to him. In fact, he had experienced it the first time he was stuck to Lanji. That feeling was like entering Lanji's body. It was very wonderful. The second time, needless to say, Polisai let him experience all the beauty of an Ahemus woman's mucous membrane. He was even more certain that when he was stuck to an Ahemus woman, the stimulation in the senses was actually second only to doing that kind of thing with a woman. Therefore, at this time, if Lanji crawled around with him on her back and used her perky buttocks to stimulate that spot of his, he might get that high or something. You know it yourself. Lanji bit her lip, and her eyes were filled with shame and anger. Shh. Charlotte made her keep quiet. Boom, 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 Lan Tan's footsteps were already very close. Charlotte quietly released the energy of the branding power, and then enveloped the area where the tunnel and the pit interface were. Lan Tan had not come in yet, but if he could capture its brain waves, it would be equivalent to foreseeing the enemy's movements. The energy field of the branding power at the junction of the tunnel and the pit was like a fishing net. It had already been opened and was only waiting for the fish to enter the net. There really was a fish that entered the net in the next second when the net was cast. Damn Ahemus, when I recover from my injuries, I will definitely flatten their tribe. Maybe I should dig out that treasure and leave here with it. That treasure can allow me to obtain even greater power. It definitely will. Damn, I'm bleeding too much, I should eat something, I'm so hungry. These were all Lan Tan's brain waves captured by the energy field of the branding power. After capturing this, Charlotte suddenly retracted the energy field of the branding power and completely held his breath. He and Lanji were like a part of the rock, motionless and silent. The target this time was Lan Tan, who was ranked second in the Forest of Rest. He did not dare to underestimate the enemy or be careless. Lan Tan's head finally appeared from the tunnel, and its head almost touched the top of the tunnel. The moment its head appeared, Charlotte suddenly pulled the Tai Sha bone bow to the limit, and then released the bowstring. Whoosh! The metal arrow flashed in the air, and with a crack it pierced into Lan Tan's head. Charlotte did not choose a random place to shoot. He chose a wound on Lan Tan's head that had a piece of flesh missing. The metal arrow hit the wound, and without the obstruction of the flesh, it instantly pierced into Lan Tan's brain. Lan Tan let out a miserable cry and then rushed forward. An arrow pierced through the brain, and it actually did not die. Boom! Lanji waved her hand and fired, but unfortunately, she was one step too late. The bullet fired from the energy pistol hit the ground beside the tunnel, and immediately created a pit in the ground. Lan Tan could not stop its flying figure, and with a series of rumbling sounds, it rolled to the bottom of the mine. Only then did it see that its nest had been destroyed. Ow! Lan Tan roared at the sky. It saw Charlotte and Lanji stuck to the rock, and its eyes were about to spit fire. Charlotte then released the energy field of the branding power. Since it had already been discovered, there was no point in hiding the energy field of the branding power. The energy field of the branding power that was released again quickly captured Lan Tan's new brainwave. Despicable Ahemus woman. Despicable humans. They tore down my house and stole my treasures. I want to eat them. I want to eat them. Anger. Every brain wave was filled with anger and murderous intent. Lan Tan suddenly rushed towards a rock wall, but its speed was clearly much slower. Previously, when it was fighting the Ahemus tribe's armed forces, its speed could reach a terrifying 200 kilometers per hour, but now it could not even reach 50 kilometers per hour. Even so, Lan Tan quickly rushed to the bottom of the rock wall. It fiercely jumped up, and its 4 elephant legs stuck to the rock wall. Charlotte saw very clearly that Lan Tan did not climb up the rock wall by relying on the mucous membrane on Lanji body, but its 4 feet suddenly spread out, and even part of its legs turned into suction cups that only an octopus had. Its bones could actually be disassembled in its body. Its skin and flesh could actually be flexible to such an extent. Previously, Charlotte did not believe that Lan Tan could climb rocks and trees, but now he believed it. Boom! Boom! Lan Tan quickly moved towards Lanji and Charlotte, sticking close to the rock wall. Boom! Lanji fired another shot, and this time it hit Lan Tan's back. However, there was no scene of flesh and blood splattering, nor did Lan Tan fall. The bullet fired from the energy pistol only left a hole on Lan Tan's back, a hole the size of a human head. Hurry up and run! Lanji screamed and suddenly crawled toward the junction between the tunnel and the mine. 2 geckos, one big and one small, one chasing and the other fleeing. Stop! Charlotte suddenly shouted, steady! Lanji did not seem to hear Charlotte's voice. She was already scared silly. She crawled quickly, and Charlotte had no way of firing an arrow. Once they reached the surface, he would be unable to stop Lan Tan's charge in the narrow tunnel. Their ally was making a fatal mistake in a life-and-death situation. What should they do? Charlotte suddenly bit his lips and straightened his back. Ah! Lan seemed to have been electrocuted. Both her legs reflexively closed up, and her whole body entered a defensive state, motionless. Charlotte instantly knocked an arrow, and in an instant, the bow was fully drawn. With a turn of his hand, he shot an arrow at the approaching Lan Tan. The metal arrow drew a slightly shining trajectory in the air, and in an instant, it entered Lan Tan's head. This arrow was even more ruthless than the previous one. After entering Lan Tan's head, only the feather of the arrow was left outside. Lan Tan's forelegs could no longer hold on to the rocks, and with a sad cry, it fell to the ground. Boom! Dust surged, and blue blood splattered on the ground like raindrops. Chapter 1426. Lan Tan was dead. Charlotte and Lan were still at the top of the mine, glued together. Charlotte was still in the attacking position before shooting the arrow, while Lan was still in the defensive position with her legs clamped together. Time and air seemed to freeze at the same time, motionless. With the threat of death removed, both of their minds and nerves instantly relaxed, but another feeling quietly grew and grew stronger. Lan was the first to recover. She turned around and glared at Charlotte, her eyes full of shame and anger. What were you trying to do just now? What did I do? Charlotte pretended not to know. Lan said, why are you pretending to be stupid? If you keep pretending, I'll stick to you. Don't. Charlotte immediately became nervous. I told you to stop, but you didn't listen. If you go down, we'll be in great danger, and we might even be trampled to death by Lan Tan. If I don't think of something, will you stop? A pervert will always be a pervert, always thinking of such a method. What are you going to do with my loss? Lan continued to stare at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I think we should go down and take a look at that Lan Tan. Maybe it's not dead yet, so we have to get rid of it first. Make it clear first, or I'll stick to you. Lan drew in her butt. Charlotte suddenly became nervous again, resisting the strong stimulation. 100,000 blue moon coins, I'll give it to you when we go down. 150,000. Why don't you go rob someone? If you don't stick to me. Lan not only drew in her butt again, but also clamped her legs together. Charlotte's brows immediately furrowed and his voice trembled. Okay, I'll give you 150,000. Let go of me. If I let go of you, we'll both fall. I'll go down now, don't let your imagination run wild. Lan moved down. Charlotte gritted his teeth and endured the stimulation, wave after wave. He felt that this process was even more nerve-wracking than when he shot Lan Tan. However, he had to endure it. Otherwise, he would pant. He had actually forgotten that in the Forest of Peace, he could freely control every single nerve in his body, including the largest one. However, sometimes men would selectively forget some things. Lan was also very uncomfortable. She was also enduring the stimulation. However, she had to use her waist, buttocks, and thighs to complete the crawling action. The electrostatic contact made her face turn bluer and bluer. In the end, she couldn't help but want to find a crack in the rocks to hide in. Fortunately, he was able to get off the ground. That Lan Tan lay on the ground, not moving at all. Charlotte came to Lan Tan's side alone, while Lan counted the money on the side. 150,000 blue moon coins was enough for her to forget the awkward experience and not care about Lan Tan's life or death. Charlotte used an arrow to poke at Lan Tan's closed eyelid, but Lan Tan did not react. His branding power energy field also did not capture any brain waves from Lan Tan. It was really dead this time. Charlotte went to one of Lan Tan's feet. He squatted down and carefully observed the sole of its foot. There were also densely packed holes made of skin and flesh on its sole. It was these holes that produced a huge suction force that gave it the ability to climb rock walls and trees. However, as the time of its death dragged on, they were slowly closing. Charlotte sighed in his heart. It's really a different place to nurture a different kind of creature. I'm afraid that only a planet like the Hope Star can give birth to a monster like Lon Tan. If there is such a creature on Earth, it's almost invincible. After this battle, there was a trace of worry in his heart. One Lon Tan was already so difficult to deal with. How could it be easy to pass through the second district that was ruled by the Lon Tan race? However, when he thought of the Sky City and the crystal palm that he had just obtained, his desire to explore the Canyon of Origin did not decrease but increased. Lon Jier finished counting the money and walked over. She took out a simple alloy dagger and began to cut Lon Tan's skin. Strangely, Lon Tan's skin, which even bullets could not tear, seemed very fragile under the alloy dagger and was easily cut open. Charlotte looked at the alloy dagger in her hand and asked curiously, "What kind of dagger is this? What material is it made of? I've never seen you use it before?" Lon Jier did not even look at Charlotte. "This dagger is called Ice Soul, an heirloom of the Asmiz Empire's royal family. More than 3,000 years ago, the Asmiz Empire's civilization was very advanced. We mastered the secrets of spirit ores and could use psionic power. We could forge very high-grade alloys, and this Ice Soul was the pinnacle of the Asmiz Empire's civilization at its peak. The Stargate that transported prisoners, the dagger, Ice Soul, that could easily cut open Lon Tan's skin. The Asmiz Empire of more than 3,000 years ago was full of mystery, and people could not help but imagine. Why didn't you take it out just now?" Charlotte said. Lon Jier said, "This dagger is very important to me, so why should I take it out and give it to you? Besides, even if I gave it to you, would you be able to use a dagger to kill Lon Tan?" Charlotte smiled bitterly. What she said was right. Even if she took out the dagger just now, he would not be able to use a dagger to fight Lon Tan. With the thickness of Lon Tan's skin, even if it stood there without moving and let him stab it 100 times, it would not be able to. Moreover, it could tear him to pieces in one bite. Lon Jier's hands and feet were very agile, and she quickly cut off a large piece of Lon Tan's skin. The Lon Tan's skin that she cut off with the Ice Soul was very thin, even thinner than ordinary cloth. It looked like it was just a layer of skin. "It's so thin. What's the use?" Charlotte asked curiously. Lon Jier said, "This is Lon Tan's skin. In your human black market, 1 square meter can be sold for 100,000 Blue Moon dollars. Its defensive capabilities are several times better than Tai Shah's skin. Moreover, it's very soft and can be made into close-fitting armor to wear underclothes. This is something that can be bought with money. If you don't want it, I'll take it all." Charlotte then moved closer. "Lend me the dagger. The rent is 50,000 Blue Moon dollars." Lon Jier also extended her hand to Charlotte. After a full 2 hours, Charlotte and Lon Jier finally left Lon Tan's nest. Not only did the two of them cut off Lon Tan's skin, they also removed several bones and tendons. Lon Tan's bones and tendons were top-quality materials for making bone bows. They were far stronger than Tai Shah's bones and tendons. This was not difficult to compare, because Tai Shah was only the lowest-ranked beast in the Forest of Rest, while Lon Tan was the second-ranked beast. Although the black market outside had a price for Lon Tan's skin and bones, who could enter the Forest of Rest to hunt Lon Tan? So it was just that there was a price but no market and no amount of money could buy it. The blue moon in the sky refracted the light of the eternal sun, and the valley was filled with a cold blue light. It was quiet. There were many beast corpses lying in the valley, and the air was filled with a thick smell of blood. Those beasts had obviously been left here to guard Lon Tan's nest, but they had all been killed. The smell of blood and corpses made Charlotte, who had just walked out of the mine, suddenly realized something. He suddenly pounced and pushed Lan Jie, who was walking beside him, to the ground. In that instant, a few arrows flew into the mine from above. There was also an energy bullet. It flew into the mine and exploded in the tunnel of the mine. It was also during this process that Charlotte saw clearly that there were at least a few dozen armed men from the Akimist tribe in this valley. Some of them were behind the rocks in the front, while others were on the slopes on both sides, surrounding the mine in a fan shape. The armed men of the Akimist tribe were the ones who had won, but they did not dare to rashly enter Lan Tan's nest. There were only a few dozen left out of more than 600 people, and they could no longer bear the casualties. They surrounded this place, and their plan was probably to trap the Lan Tan and let it die from its injuries, or wait for the Lan Tan to come out to hunt for food, and then kill it. But they clearly did not expect Charlotte and Lan Jie to come out of Lan Tan's nest. But this did not affect their intention to shoot Charlotte. As soon as they saw Charlotte, a few armed men made their move. Charlotte did not dare to hesitate. After pouncing on Lan Jie, he carried her and rolled into the mine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom. Arrows and energy bullets flew over like raindrops, and explosions rang out continuously. The mine trembled and rocks fell. Damn it! We killed that Lan Tan, why didn't they ask before shooting? Lan Jie was furious. Charlotte let go of Lan Jie, who was under his body, but his face was relaxed, and there was even a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. We're trapped. I think they'll soon confirm that the Lan Tan is dead, and they'll organize people to attack this place. This place is narrow, and their energy bullets and firearms are very difficult to deal with. We're dead. Then why are you still smiling? Lan Jie stared at Charlotte. Think of a way. I can save you, but I have a condition, Charlotte said. Help me make the Lan Tan leather armor, and I'll help you take care of the enemies outside. Give me another 50,000. If you bargain again, I'll let you give me 100,000, Charlotte said. I promise you. Miser. Lan Jie's expression looked like she was cutting her flesh. Charlotte took off his equipment bag, then took out the parts of the Avenger 1000 sniper rifle, and quickly equipped it. Against Tai Sha and Lan Tan, he couldn't use human weapons, but against the Ahimis, human weapons were very useful. Charlotte, I know you're inside. Serene's voice came from outside the cave. His voice was full of contempt and disdain. You're the most despicable and shameless person I've ever seen. That Lan Tan has already been seriously injured by us, but you're still hiding in the dark and taking advantage of us. For the sake of those dead heroic souls, I swear I'll kill you. Your corpse. Bang! A gunshot rang out. A bullet whistled through the air. The head of a temple guard beside Serene instantly bloomed, and he fell before he could even make a sound. Serene was instantly stunned on the spot. Bang! A gunshot rang out and another tribal warrior fell to the ground. Serene hurriedly hid behind a rock, his face black and blue. He had just been clamoring to kill Charlotte, but in the blink of an eye, Charlotte had killed 2 of his own people. This slap in the face was really painful. The Ahimis outside, listen up. Charlotte's voice suddenly came from inside the mine. Go back to your tribe. Your wives and children, your parents are still waiting for you at home. One of my targets is your leader, Serene. I only want his life. I don't want to kill you anymore. I'll give you one last chance. Leave or die. Choose for yourself. Serene suddenly roared. He only has one gun, charge in and kill him. As Serene's voice fell, more than 10 Ahimis tribal warriors roared and charged into the mine. Chapter 14:27. After the dozens of Ahimis warriors charged, the Ahimis warriors and temple guards hiding on both sides of the mine also rushed out, roaring as they charged into the mine. Serene's order was clear, and they had to carry it out. Charlotte only had one gun. They felt that as long as they rushed into the mine, they could kill Charlotte. Then they would capture Lan Jie, the traitor of the Ahemus tribe, alive and burn her to death. The dozens of Ahemus warriors and temple guards rushed to the mine in the blink of an eye. In just a few more seconds they would be able to rush into the cave. After that, Xia Lei would be minced into meat paste by the furious warriors of the Ahemus tribe and the temple guards. Serene walked out from behind the rock he was hiding behind. The warriors of the Ahemus tribe and the temple guards rushed into the mine. At that moment, the sound of arrows tearing through the air, the sound of cold weapons cutting into flesh, and the sound of energy ammunition exploding came from the mine. These sounds were mixed together, creating a chaotic mess, giving people a bloody and tragic auditory impact. There were no gunshots. No one could withstand the charge of dozens of Ahemus warriors and temple guards, especially in the narrow tunnel of the mine. Serene's tense nerves finally relaxed, and a sneer appeared on his lips. The Ahemus tribe had paid a heavy price for this battle, but it was worth it. Lan Tan and Charlotte were both dead, and more importantly, the corridor of rest had been opened. Bring Lanji out. Serene walked towards the mine. I will personally execute her. The traitor of the Ahemus tribe, she does not have the right to live anymore. No one responded. Serene suddenly stopped and looked at the mine cautiously. A person walked out of the mine. This was not any Ahemus warrior, nor was it any temple guard. It was Charlotte. Charlotte walked towards Serene, holding the Avenger 1000 sniper rifle in his hand. His steps were not fast or slow, and he was very calm. You! Serene looked at Charlotte with fear in his eyes, not daring to believe it. The corner of Xia Lei's mouth curled up into a faint smile, calm and indifferent. Serene reached for the energy pistol at his waist, but he found that his hand was not controlled by his brain at all. He couldn't even pull out a gun. Charlotte stopped in front of Serene, then drew out his alloy army knife and said calmly, "Do you have any words to say? Who are you? What did you do to us?" Serene's voice was trembling. Charlotte waved his hand, and the sharp alloy military knife flashed in the air before cutting open Serene's neck. Blue blood spurted out. Sorry, I fell to the ground. His eyes were wide open as he glared at Charlotte. However, Charlotte became blurry in his eyes and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lan Ji walked out of the mine, looking absent-minded. She had stepped on corpses and blood to walk out, but she had no impression of it at all. A week later, at night, on top of a mountain, the bonfire burned quietly, and the dancing flames dispelled the darkness and coldness. For you. Lan Ji threw a blue object to Charlotte. That was the blue tank armor that she had made for Charlotte. Charlotte reached out and took it. The blue tank armor was very light and very soft. It felt like a piece of clothing. He unfolded it and found that its shape was a bit like an autumn coat. Moreover, it was not just an autumn coat, but also a pair of autumn pants. It looked very close-fitting. The blue tank armor was sewn with blue tank's tendons, so there was no need to worry about it breaking or anything. After looking at it, he gave Lan Ji a thumbs up and said with a smile, "Your skills are not bad. No wonder you're old Blue Wood's daughter." Lan Ji curled her lip. "Go put it on and see if it fits. I'll change the parts that don't fit." Okay. Charlotte took the blue tank armor and went behind a tree, where he took off his clothes and put on the armor. A few minutes later, Charlotte walked out from behind the tree. He looked like a diving frogman. The blue tank armor that Lan Ji made for him was like another layer of skin for him. After putting it on, his pectoral muscles, his abdominal muscles, and all the muscle lines were clearly outlined. However, what made him most embarrassed was the position between his legs. There was a large lump that was very eye-catching. Charlotte walked out while holding the position between his legs. He also had an embarrassed look on his face. "Can't you make it bigger? We have a lot of blue tank armor. It won't be a waste of materials to make it bigger, right? Look at what you're making now. What do you call it? A diving suit?" Lan Ji said, "Only an amateur like you would ask me to make the blue tank armor bigger." The biggest advantage of the blue tank armor is that it sticks to the skin, making it invisible to people. In addition, when it sticks to your skin, it can absorb nutrients from your skin's capillaries and keep it fresh. In the words of us experts, this is called nourishing armor. The blue tank armor nourished by different people will be different. If you can provide it with better nourishment, it might evolve into a blue tank armor with special properties. Charlotte was stunned. There's such a thing? Lon Jier said, it's the skin that was peeled from the blue tank. Blue tanks are creatures second only to rock spirit. We Ahimas have another name for blue tanks, the blue forest spirit. In Chinese, it's not the word for life, but the word for forest. They are the spirits of the forest. They have unique evolution and abilities given by their creator, just like how the creator gave you cunning and lecherous characteristic. Charlotte smiled. Thank you for making the blue tank armor for me. But is it fun to make fun of me every day? Lan Ji rolled her eyes at Charlotte. I'm going to wear mine. Don't peek. She took out another set of blue tank armor from her backpack, then got up and walked behind a tree. Making 2 sets of blue tank armor in a week and being able to do it so well was naturally because of the craftsmanship that surpassed the master, but the more important reason was the ice soul dagger that came from the Ahimas Empire's royal family. Without the ice soul dagger, no matter how good the craftsmanship was, it would be impossible to cut the blue tank armor so thin and so close to the body. Charlotte did not peek, although it was just a blink of an eye for him. When Lan Ji hid behind the tree and put on the blue tank armor, he shifted his gaze to the other side of the mountain, looking in the direction of the far east. The corridor of rest had already been left behind. Past this mountain was the 3rd region, Lan Tan's territory. To reach the Canyon of Origin, he had to pass through the 2nd District's Blue Tank territory and the 1st District's Rock Spirit territory. This journey was like circling the Earth from the equator. He did not know how long it would take to reach the Canyon of Origin, nor did he know how many dangers awaited him on the road ahead. It would be great if I could have a raptor like the one Holy Thunder rode. It would save me a lot of trouble by flying over. If I walk like this, it would take at least a year to reach the Canyon of Origin, right? Thinking about the long road ahead, the hardships and dangers, Charlotte could not help but frown. But no matter how far it was, no matter how many hardships and dangers he would encounter along the way, he still had to persevere, because this was his final answer and his only hope of returning home. Lan Ji walked out from behind the tree, one hand covering her chest, the other covering the area between her legs. She carefully walked towards the bonfire, staring at Charlotte cautiously, as if afraid that he would molest her. Although she was protecting the important parts of her body, Charlotte still saw it. The blue tank armor was like another layer of skin for her, and 2 protruding spots could be clearly seen on her plump breast. There was also a bump on the area between her legs, and there was an obvious dent. The line of her buttocks was even more close to her body, and the fullness and plumpness were always provoking people's desires. At first glance, what was the difference between her and not wearing clothes? Her skin was also blue, but the black stripes on the blue tank armor were missing. Don't look. Lan Ji glared at Charlotte, and his gaze made her very uncomfortable. Charlotte smiled. Then why don't you wear a coat? Lan Ji said, what do you know? Wearing the blue tank armor and warming up to the fire can speed up the process of the armor recognizing the skin. Otherwise, why do you think I'm dressed like this to warm up to the fire? You're lucky, you pervert. Charlotte was speechless. Lan Ji sat next to the bonfire, leaning very close. Her perky buttocks were pressed against the ground, and the protruding ravine between her legs exuded a mature and alluring aura. She wanted to hide it, but because of the way she was sitting, she could not. If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyes out, she said fiercely. Charlotte smiled bitterly, and he shifted his gaze to the far east. Do you really want to go to the Canyon of Origin with me? It's a long journey, and I don't know what kind of dangers we'll encounter along the way. If you want to go back, there's still time. Are you chasing me away? No, I just want you to think about it. Don't ask me such questions anymore. I've already thought about it very clearly. Wherever you go, I'll go. But I have a request, and I hope you can agree to it, Lan Jie said. What request? Charlotte was very curious and a little surprised. She didn't say condition, but request. Lan Jie said, no matter what you find, I want half of it. Xia Lei was taken aback for a moment before he nodded. Lan Jie revealed a trace of a smile. It's a deal. Since you're free now, can you talk to me? Talk about what? How did Polisai seduce you? Is she very slutty? Charlotte was speechless. Roar. A deafening beast roar suddenly came from the bottom of the hill. Lan Jie was startled and stood up with a crash. Then, she rushed to her equipment bag and took out her energy pistol. Charlotte also stood up, and his gaze penetrated the darkness and the dense treetops. He was stunned on the spot when he saw what he saw. Although there was only one beast roar coming from the bottom of the hill, he saw pairs of blue eyes. They were like small blue lanterns in the dark forest, releasing a fierce divine light. He moved in another direction, and he saw the same situation. He and Lan Jie were already surrounded by blue dragons. Are they blue dragons? Lan Jie returned to Charlotte's side with her energy pistol. Then, she pushed him and said anxiously, What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and get your bow. Didn't you make a new bow with blue tank's bones and tendons? But Charlotte didn't move. In a week's time, he did make a new blue tank bow with blue tank's bones and tendons. He even had arrows made of bones. It wouldn't be a problem to shoot blue dragons, but that was when there were only a few blue dragons. Now that this hill was surrounded by hundreds of blue dragons, how many could he kill? Chapter 1428. Lan Tan surrounded them from the foot of the mountain, roaring continuously. Lan Jie only understood when she heard the roars coming from all directions. Her blue face had turned pale blue, and there was no color of blood. We're dead. We're dead this time. What should we do? What should we do? I don't want to die yet. Lan Jie was on the verge of breaking down. Charlotte was not in the mood to comfort her. He was also very scared. However, he did not despair like Lan Jie, and he did not give up fighting. His brain worked quickly, calculating a way to get through the crisis. He thought of Sunflower, but even if Sunflower was in this group of blue dragons, how could it control hundreds of blue dragons? He also thought of a way to escape quickly, but the chance of success was almost zero. His legs could not outrun the four-legged blue dragons at all, not to mention so many blue dragons, and he still had Lan Jie with him. Just at this moment of life and death, the cosmic imprint hidden in the depths of his soul suddenly trembled and suddenly appeared. His imprint power surged out like mercury, immediately forming an energy field with a radius of 200 meters on the top of the mountain. In this area, how many insects were chirping, how many blades of grass were swaying in the night wind, and even how many meters per second the wind was flowing in the air. Everything was under his control, not a single detail was left out. This area with a radius of 200 meters was equivalent to his absolute domain. He controlled everything in this area, and he also dominated everything in this domain. This was the first time that a cosmic imprint had joined the imprint power energy field. Although the scope did not expand, the strength of control had increased several times. Under this kind of growth, he suddenly felt that he had become a god who ruled this domain. What was there to be afraid of? There was no fear. His confidence was so strong that even hundreds of blue dragons could not shake him. Suddenly, the imprint power energy field caught a trace of vibration. Charlotte's gaze instantly moved to the equipment bag next to the campfire. The trace of vibration that the imprint power energy field caught came from the equipment bag. It was the crystal hand bone. Its vibration was related to the appearance of the cosmic imprint, and in a very short period of time after the vibration, it actually established some kind of connection with his cosmic imprint. The connection was like the connection between the brain and the organs, such as the eyes, the nose, and the arms. Charlotte was shocked. What's going on? Why do I have such a strange feeling? In the past, I didn't even have such a feeling with the crystal skull, let alone a connection. Could it be that my branding power and the universe brand have become stronger? Or is it that the threat to his life stimulated his potential? Was that the reason? Maybe, maybe not. Regardless of the reason, Charlotte quickly opened his equipment bag and took out the crystal palm. The moment the crystal hand was grasped in his hand, the feeling of being connected to him suddenly became even stronger. Before he took out the crystal hand, the connection between him and the crystal hand was only limited to the spiritual level. It felt like the crystal hand bone had become a part of his body. However, when he held the crystal hand in his hand, he suddenly felt like the crystal hand had really become a part of his body. He did not have time to think about why. The crystal hand bone suddenly produced a huge suction force, sucking the branding power in his body. The connection became unstable and intermittent in the blink of an eye, and his body became weak because of the loss of a large amount of branding power. This was really killing him. He originally thought that it was a chance to get through the crisis, but he did not expect that before he could figure out what was going on, he would become weak because of the crystal skull's energy absorption. It was originally a battle with absolutely no chance of winning. How could he fight now? The roars of beasts at the foot of the hill were heard, and hundreds of blue dragons had already launched their charge. The rumbling sound of running shook the entire mountain top, the ground was shaking, and the trees were also knocked down by the running blue dragons. Quickly think of a way. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Lan Ji-er had already collapsed, and she ran towards Charlotte. She seemed to want to hide behind Charlotte, but she did not expect to kick Charlotte's equipment bag. 2 bottles filled with blue liquid rolled out of the equipment bag. That was the blue milk that Polisai had squeezed for him. He had kept it, even when he was fighting Lan Tan. He could not bear to drink it. At this moment, 2 bottles of blue milk suddenly came into his sight, and a flash of inspiration suddenly flashed in his mind. He grabbed a bottle of blue milk, unscrewed the sealed cap, and gulped it down in one gulp. After drinking 1 bottle, he then unscrewed the sealed cap of the second bottle and drank the second bottle into his stomach. It had been half a month since Polisai squeezed out these 2 bottles of blue milk for him, but the strange thing was that the taste of the 2 bottles of blue milk had not changed, and it was still so sweet and delicious. As soon as the 2 bottles of blue milk went down his stomach, the feeling of soaking in a hot spring instantly spread throughout his body. Not only did Archimedes have an extremely rich evolutionary energy to enhance the branding power, but it also had a sudden enhancement of the mysterious attribute. And this did not change because these 2 bottles of milk were squeezed out for him by Polisai half a month ago. He now experienced the feeling of suddenly becoming powerful, and that feeling made him feel like he was an omnipotent god. The intermittent and unstable connection between the cosmic brand and the crystal hand bone was instantly stabilized. The crystal hand bone seemed to have absorbed enough of the branding power and began to feed back to Charlotte, pouring the branding power that it had absorbed before into Charlotte's body. Charlotte was no longer Charlotte. He felt like he was the god of thunder. If he was given a hammer, he might try to strike a lightning bolt. He did not have a hammer, but he had the crystal hand bone. He did not know why, but he felt that it was a weapon that could be used, and an extremely powerful weapon. Lan Ji-er was in a different situation, the complete opposite situation. She looked at the bottle that Charlotte had thrown on the ground and suddenly remembered something. She cried and scolded, "You bastard, we're about to die, and you're still drinking that bitch Polisai's milk. You bastard!" Roar! a blue dragon suddenly jumped out and pounced on Charlotte. Its body was straight in the air, and its speed was as fast as an angry arrow. When it opened its bloody mouth, it was filled with sharp teeth that could crush a person with a single bite. Its sharp claws flashed with a cold light, and they were sharper than spears. If it was in the past, Charlotte could only dodge, but this time, he did not. He suddenly jumped up, holding the crystal hand bone in his right hand, and slapped it. Boom! A muffled sound rang out in the forest, and the blue dragon, which weighed several tons, suddenly flew backward, and a large number of trees behind it fell down. The blue dragon fell to the ground, and dust rose. Lan Ji-er's jaw also fell to the ground. Another blue dragon pounced from the side, and a pair of sharp claws stabbed at Charlotte's back like spears. "Be careful behind." Lan Ji-er was not completely scared, and she warned Charlotte in horror. It was as if Xiaolei had grown a pair of eyes on his back. He didn't even take a look and just waved his hand. Bang! The crystal hand bone swept the blue dragon's front claws, and with a crisp crack, the pair of front claws of the blue dragon that ambushed him was smashed off. The huge impact caused its body to roll more than 10 times on the ground before coming to a stop. Several blue dragons pounced at Charlotte from all 4 directions at Charlotte. Lan Ji-er shouted in horror. No, however, Charlotte's thin body was buried by several blue dragons in the blink of an eye. Boom! With a huge shock, several blue dragons flew backward. Compared to them, Xiaolei's body was so thin and weak that it was disproportionate. However, this thin and weak human actually had the strength of a god. They could pounce on him, but they definitely could not hurt him, because no blue dragon could resist that powerful power. The mountain was completely surrounded by the blue dragons, but they did not dare to rush forward. For the first time, their eyes were full of fear when they looked at Charlotte. Roar! Charlotte roared, and then there was a series of roars with obvious changes in syllables. This sound was made in the energy field of the branding power, and he was sending a message to these blue dragons. I have no intention of offending you. I am not your enemy. I know the blue dragon sunflower. I am its friend. It said that I am the one chosen by the Queen of Rest. That is why I am here. This message was transmitted through the roar, and with the effect of the energy field of the branding power, all the blue dragons within a radius of 200 meters heard Charlotte's cry and understood what he meant. At this time, a blue dragon with a particularly strong body walked out. Its 2 blue eyes stared straight at Xiaolei, and then it let out a series of sounds from its throat. The energy field of the branding power captured its thoughts, and Charlotte's brain also translated its meaning. I am the king here, human, is what you said true? Charlotte responded with the unique roar of the blue dragon. I am telling the truth. The sunflower can explain to you. Where is it? The blue dragon king said. It came back and told me to go to the corridor of rest to save a human. I was very angry and I injured it. It is in our tribe. Now Charlotte could be sure that the blue dragon that appeared in the Canyon of Rest was the sunflower. It did not enter the corridor of rest to fight with him, but returned to its tribe to ask for help. This was a smart move because it could not win against that blue titan, not to mention that blue titan had a powerful beast army. In addition, the armed forces of Achemus were also an invincible threat to it. With these 2 reasons it left. But it should not have thought that its king not only did not believe its words, but also injured it. Charlotte was also secretly glad that he did not pin his hope of rescue on the blue dragon sunflower. If he pinned his hope on the blue dragon sunflower, he and Lan Ji-er would probably be digested in the stomach of the blue dragon at this moment. No matter what, don't count on anyone, only yourself is the most reliable. Charlotte glared at the Blue Dragon King and took a step towards the Blue Dragon King. The Blue Dragon King subconsciously took a step back. I am the person chosen by the Queen of Rest. How dare you besiege me? Charlotte used the unique voice of the Blue Dragon to send a new message. This message also carried anger and strong killing intent. I believe you. The Blue Dragon King's message came, "Don't fight, we can help you see the Queen of Rest." Why should I believe you? You don't even believe in the Blue Dragon Sunflower. Charlotte's message. The Blue Dragon King's message. It left the Forest of Rest and entered the human world, then came back and told us to fight a Blue Titan to save a human. Of course I was angry. But now I believe everything it said. You are wearing the skin of a Blue Titan, you killed that Blue Titan. You are very strong, we will not be enemies with you anymore, I can promise you in the name of the Queen of Rest. Okay, I believe you. Charlotte finally breathed a sigh of relief. He turned around and looked at Longier, then he was stunned. Longier stood behind him, her face was pale blue, her legs were shaking non-stop, and her feet were wet. She was actually scared to the point of peeing. Chapter 1429. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness that shrouded the Forest of Rest. A barren mountain entered Charlotte's sight. That mountain was called Dragon Mountain in the Blue Dragon world. The Blue Dragon tribe was on that mountain. There were more than 1,000 blue dragons living on that barren mountain. However, this was not the number of all the blue dragons in the Forest of Rest. It was just the number of the Blue Dragon tribe. There were about 100,000 blue dragons living in the Forest of Rest, which was the size of Earth. There were more than 100 tribes of various sizes. Dragon Mountain was just one of them. The Blue Dragon King led the team into Dragon Mountain. The roars of the blue dragons could be heard from the Dragon Mountain. On the back of a blue dragon, Longier grabbed onto Charlotte's sleeve tightly. Even so, she was still very nervous. Charlotte looked back at her and said with a smile, "Where did your courage go? I'm warning you, don't pee. If you pee on the back of a blue dragon, it will be a huge insult to the blue dragons. I won't be able to save you then." Longier's face turned blue. She glared at Charlotte and said angrily, "Even if I pee, I will pee on you." Charlotte did not know how to continue. A provocative smile appeared at the corner of Longier's mouth. "You're obviously a very lecherous person, but most of the time you're very serious and shy. Your character is just as unpredictable as your ability." Charlotte smiled bitterly. He could not even understand himself, let alone an Ahemus woman. However, his goal in talking to Longier was to ease her nervousness. It seemed that he had achieved his goal, although it brought about some side effects. The Blue Dragon King led the team up the Dragon Mountain majestically. The so-called tribe, of course, was not the kind of tribe that humans or Ahemus built with houses. Instead, it was made up of caves of various sizes. The largest cave was the residence of the Blue Dragon King. It was also the center of power for the Dragon Mountain tribe. Charlotte's first stop was the largest cave in the Dragon Mountain. Most of the rocks in the cave were blue in color. Under the natural light, the entire cave was a faint blue, giving it a unique sense of mystery. Charlotte also saw many spirit ores. Some were embedded in the rock walls, and some were hidden in the middle of a blue rock. Their existence created a psionic energy field in the cave. Anyone who was in this energy field would feel as if their body and mind were being purified. The Blue Dragon King sent a new message. "My friend, please wait for a moment. Rihua will be here soon. I will arrange the summoning ritual. If Queen of Rest responds, you will soon be able to enter the Canyon of Origin and meet her." Charlotte was surprised by his message. "What summoning ritual?" "I can't explain. You'll know when the time comes." After leaving this message, the Blue Dragon King left. Only Charlotte and Longier were left in the cave. It was very quiet. The moment the Blue Dragon King left, Longier suddenly rushed towards a rock wall. Charlotte grabbed her hand and held her back. "What are you trying to do?" "I'm not trying to do anything." Longier's eyes flickered. "I need to pee. Can't I find a place to pee?" Charlotte said with a smile, "Don't think I don't know. You're eyeing that rank 1 spirit ore, right? Let go of me. I'll take it." Lan Ji struggled for a while, but she couldn't break free from Charlotte's hand. Charlotte stopped smiling and said in a deep voice, "Are you trying to get us killed? It wasn't easy for me to gain their trust. If you steal the spirit ore from the Blue Dragon King's house, how do you think they will deal with us?" Lan Ji pleaded softly, "There are so many here. What's the big deal if I steal one? The Blue Dragon King won't find out." Slap! A crisp voice interrupted Lan Ji's words. She tilted her head and saw Xia Lei's palm landing on her perky buttock. Her buttocks rippled deliciously beneath his hand. "You, slap." "You," Lan Ji pointed her finger. Slap. 3 consecutive slaps on the same half of her but in the same place. Although she was protected by the blue tank armor and wouldn't be hit red, the nature of the slap was unacceptable and shameful. These 3 slaps completely stunned her. She stared at Charlotte blankly. Her face was blue and she couldn't say a word. Charlotte said fiercely, "I'm warning you. If you have such thoughts again, I'll slap your butt until it's swollen. Don't think I'm joking. I mean what I say. Don't think I can't slap your butt because you're wearing the blue tank armor. If I want to, I can slap your butt until it's blooming." Lan Ji subconsciously tightened her buttocks. That was because the scene of Xia Lei sending a blue dragon flying with a slap appeared in her mind. The blue dragon, which weighed a few tons, was like a pillow under his slap, flying away at will. She still didn't understand what was going on, but she knew that Charlotte definitely wasn't lying. If he wanted to, he could slap her and her but would blossom. Charlotte let go of his hand. Lan Ji didn't steal the spirit ore. She covered her butt and pouted, looking like she was about to cry. Charlotte coughed and looked away from her. No matter how reasonable it was to slap a woman's butt so forcefully, such a thing would always be embarrassing. The cave was quiet again. There was no sound at all. Heavy footsteps could be heard coming from the entrance of the cave, and then a blue titan limped in. When Charlotte saw it, he went up to it and sent his message to the blue dragon. "My friend, are your injuries serious?" Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "My friend, don't worry about me. My injuries aren't serious. I just can't run for a while. I'm very guilty. I couldn't help you when you needed my help the most. I came back to ask for help, but I couldn't get the Blue Dragon King's trust. When the Blue Dragon King injured me and brought the Blue Dragon to find you, I was very regretful. I thought you were dead. I didn't expect you to kill that blue tank and come here. My hunch was right. You are the one chosen by Queen of Rest." Charlotte's message. "Don't feel guilty. You made the right choice." Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "I'm very happy that you're alive." Sunflower, when the Blue Dragon King left, he said that he was going to prepare for the summoning ritual. "Can you tell me something about the summoning ritual?" Charlotte's message. He had captured the Blue Dragon King's brainwaves just now, but the time was too short. He didn't get any valuable information. And facing the sunflower, he didn't want to steal anything from its brain like a thief. Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "My friend, I don't know much. But I know that it's a ritual to establish contact with Queen of Rest. Queen of Rest controls this forest. If you can contact her, you can go see her." Charlotte was excited. "Don't I have to go through Blue Tank's territory?" Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "No need. If you get a response from Queen of Rest, you'll be able to see her soon." "How do I go there?" Charlotte was very curious. Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "I'm not sure. Maybe it's a tunnel through space. Or maybe it's a bird it sent. But no matter what, you have to believe that it won't hurt you. It wants to see you. It's been waiting for you." Charlotte nodded. "Thank you for telling me this." Although he didn't know what the ritual was, he wasn't worried anymore. "I have something for you." Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. "Come with me, my friend. You'll like the gift I prepared for you." "Okay." Charlotte didn't refuse. Blue Dragon Sunflower turned and left the Blue Dragon King's cave. Charlotte followed it. Lan Ji reluctantly looked at the fist-sized level, 1 spirit ore, but in the end she couldn't restrain her fear of Charlotte's spanking. She also followed Charlotte and left the Blue Dragon King's cave. Walking on the barren, rocky Dragon Mountain, Charlotte saw a lot of blue dragons. Those blue dragons were also looking at the first human to come to Dragon Mountain in history. But there was no hostility in their eyes. There was only reverence. The story of Charlotte slapping a few blue dragons had long been spread on Dragon Mountain. They were in awe of Charlotte's powerful strength. In fact, Charlotte himself didn't know what happened to him last night. After the mysterious effect of Polisai's blue milk disappeared, the connection between him and the crystal hand bone was cut off. He could no longer have that kind of terrifying power. He even missed Polisai. If she was by his side and provided him with Akima's perfect blue milk, he might be able to figure out what was going on. Unfortunately, Polisai had already left the Forest of Rest with Bluewood's father. It would probably be a long time before he could drink her milk. Thinking of perfect blue milk and Polisai, Charlotte couldn't help but look back at Longier, who was following behind him nervously. His gaze fell on the two peaks on her body, and a thought suddenly came to his mind. Polisai is just an ordinary Ahimus woman, and her milk has a mysterious medicinal effect. Longier has the ancient bloodline of the Akimus Empire's royal family. The Akimus who have that bloodline have mysterious abilities. I wonder if Longier's milk will be different? Perfect blue milk of the Akimus Empire's ancient royal family. How powerful would its evolutionary energy be? What kind of mysterious attributes would it have? Charlotte's heart was filled with imagination. He couldn't help but purse his lips. The milk worm in his stomach was already stirring. However, Longier was not Polisai. He only needed to give Polisai a sense of security. Polisai was willing to give up everything for him and produce milk for him. Longier was the princess of the Akimus Empire's descendant. She was sneaky and cunning. If he was not careful, he would be tricked by her. It was easier said than done to drink her milk. What are you looking at? Dig out your eyes. Pervert. Longier found out where Xiaolei was, and she looked fierce. Charlotte smiled. You always call me a pervert, but I have never molested you. Instead, you have molested me. How about I be a pervert for once and drink your milk? Longier hurriedly covered her chest. Don't even think about it. I'm just joking. Charlotte turned his head, but in his heart, he secretly said, if drinking her milk can help me unlock the secret of the crystal hand bone and master that mysterious and powerful power, it's not a big deal to be despicable, right? However, I can't forcibly hypnotize her to produce milk for me. What should I do to make her willingly produce milk for me? Perfect blue milk of the Akimus Empire. Just this special milk name alone made Charlotte's heart move. It was also the first time he took the initiative to think about drinking a woman's milk. The blue dragon sunflower stopped in front of a small cave. It sent a message. This is my nest. Come in. Chapter 1430. The nest of the blue dragon sunflower was much shabbier than that of the blue dragon king. It was much smaller and didn't have as many blue rocks. The light was slightly dim. The blue dragon sunflower walked to its nest made of weeds and dead branches, then took out a 1-foot square alloy box and a bag made of animal skin with its mouth. The beast's skin bag was bulging, and it was obvious that there was something inside. Before Charlotte could see through it, the blue dragon sunflower opened the animal skin bag with its claws. A smooth blue light suddenly radiated from the animal skin bag. The light was very soft and very pure. Charlotte and Longier were both dumbfounded. There were several spiritual ores in the animal skin bag. They were of different sizes and shapes, but each of them was so dazzling and contained rich spiritual energy. One of the oval-shaped ores was about the size of a human fist. It looked purer than the other ores and contained more spiritual energy. Looking at it was like looking into an eye. It was a very strange feeling. That's a top-quality level 1 spiritual ore. Longier cried out in surprise. Charlotte said, "How many levels are there of spiritual ores?" Longier said, "According to the purity and the energy contained, in the ancient Achemis Empire, spiritual ores are divided into 5 levels. Level 3, Level 2, Level 1, Special Grade, and World Stone. Each level has a range of energy values. The closest to the maximum value is the best. Level 3 ranges from 1 to 20. If it's 18, 19, and 20, then it's the best of Level 3. Level 1 ranges from 40 to 60. If it's 58, 59, and 60, then it's the best of Level 1. Charlotte understood. In the Achemis tribe, he had scanned himself with the Blue Moon People's experiment equipment. The equipment gave him a value. There was pure spiritual energy in his body. The purity was 96%, which surpassed the special grade spiritual ores and was second only to the World Stone. At that time, he guessed that there were at least 3 levels of spiritual ores: Level 1, Special Grade, and World Stone. Now it seemed that he was right, but he didn't expect there to be so many details. Longier said again, "Did you see that? The spiritual ore in the animal skin bag is of the best first grade. Its spiritual energy value is at least 59, and it can even reach 60. In the ancient Achemis Empire, it was worth enough to feed an Achemis family for 100 years. So valuable? The ancient Achemis have mastered psionic technology. What did they use it for?" Xiale asked. Longier said, "It's omnipotent in scientific research, agricultural production, racial evolution, and space exploration." Charlotte smiled. This question was actually superfluous because he himself was an example omnipotent. "My friend." The Blue Dragon Sunflower's message came. "This is the gift I prepared for you. I hope you like it." Charlotte's message: "I like it very much. Thank you, my friend. I know about these spirit ores, but what's that alloy box? And the beast skin pouch, how did you get these things?" The Blue Dragon Sunflower's message: "These spirit ores were left for me by my mother. We blue dragons like them very much, and almost every blue dragon has their own spirit ores. I got the beast skin pouch from a victim, and I think it's very suitable to store my spirit ores. As for this alloy box, I don't know what it is. I found it in the Forest of Rest. I can't open it, but I think you can." Charlotte's heart moved, and he activated his X-ray vision. His vision penetrated the alloy box. The damping was very strong, but he still saw what was inside. It was a very complicated instrument with circuit boards, electronic components, wires, and even parts for storing and converting energy. It was very complicated. Before his X-ray vision, Charlotte had a guess, which was that this alloy box was a storage box, and something inside needed a specific password to open it. However, he didn't expect it to be such a complicated instrument. He had never seen this type of instrument before. After his X-ray vision ended, Charlotte carefully looked at the appearance of the alloy box. It was bronze, and it looked very old. It was not the silver that the Blue Moon people often used to make alloy equipment. There were no markings on the surface of the box, only some marks that seemed to be left by impact. His curiosity was immediately aroused. What kind of instrument was this? Why are you in a daze? Hurry up and get those spirit ores back. Longier gently touched Charlotte's waist. Charlotte's thoughts were interrupted, but he didn't take the spirit ores in the beast's skin pouch. Instead, he asked a new question to the Blue Dragon Sunflower. "This box looks very old. I think it's some kind of instrument. My friend, where did you get it?" Blue Dragon Sunflower's information: "Once, I chased a prey to a very remote place. My prey fell down a cliff, and I went down as well. Then, I found this box at the bottom of the cliff. I was still young at that time, and I thought it was fun, so I took it back." Charlotte thought for a moment. "Did you find anything else like this under the cliff? Like fragments or something?" The Blue Dragon Sunflower shook her head. "No, the cliff was shrouded in a thick fog, so I couldn't see it clearly at all. It was too wet, and I was worried that there might be swamp traps, so I didn't dare to go deep. Where is the cliff? It's in the north. If my leg is fine, I can take you to see it. The Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. But I don't want you to go to that place. That place is very evil, and it makes me feel uneasy. Tell me, why do you want to go under that cliff? Charlotte's message. I'm just curious. I don't have to go to that place. The Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. My friend, please accept my gift and wait for the ceremony to begin. Don't think about that cliff anymore. That's not where you should go. Before Charlotte could take the gift, Lan Ji reached for the beast's skin pouch. She wasn't interested in the ancient instrument disguised as a metal box. She was interested in the spirit ores in the beast's skin pouch. The Blue Dragon Sunflower glared at Lan Ji. Its eyes were very big, and when it glared, it revealed an ominous glint, as if it wanted to eat something. Lan Ji was scared. She retreated and muttered in her heart, "What a stubborn brain. Isn't it the same if I hold it?" Charlotte took the beast's skin pouch and expressed his gratitude to the Blue Dragon Sunflower. "Thank you, my friend. But these spirit ores were left for you by your mother. Is it appropriate for you to give it to me?" "Of course it is appropriate, my friend. You are the one chosen by Queen of Rest. It is my honor to give you a gift." The Blue Dragon Sunflower's message. Charlotte smiled. "Then I'll accept it." The Blue Dragon was different from humans. It gave him a gift out of respect. If he didn't accept it, it would be disrespecting it. Charlotte stayed in the Sunflower's cave for a while. Then, a blue dragon came and took him and Lan Ji to a cave and let them stay there temporarily. The cave was very small. Not to mention a bed, there wasn't even a nest made of grass and leaves. In addition, there was no toilet, bathroom, or anything like that. It was just a cave. After all, the Blue Dragon's tribe was an animal tribe. It was impossible to treat guests like humans. After the Blue Dragon left, Lan Ji said anxiously, "Let me see that top-quality level 1 spirit ore." Charlotte didn't care. He took out the top-quality level 1 spirit ore and handed it to Lan Ji. Lan Ji giggled. "You are quite generous sometimes." Charlotte said, "Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and see it. Give it to me when you're done." Lan Ji curled her lips. "You're stingy." Charlotte smiled. "Do I have to give it to you to be generous?" Lan Ji nodded vigorously. "And then give it to me." "Okay, then give me milk," Charlotte said. "Go to hell, you damn pervert." Lan Ji's face suddenly turned blue. Charlotte said, "I like to drink milk, but that's not because I'm lecherous, but because milk can make me stronger. Last night, I was able to defeat so many blue dragons by relying on the 2 bottles of milk that Boris gave me. This is my secret. So far, I've only told it to you. You have to keep it a secret for me." Lan Ji stared at Charlotte with her mouth agape. She looked at him as if she was looking at a monster. Such words sounded absurd, but she believed that what Charlotte said was true. Because she had personally experienced what happened last night. She saw with her own eyes that after Charlotte drank the 2 bottles of milk, he had the power of a god. A blue dragon that weighed several tons was slapped away with one slap. Charlotte shrugged. "Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you this secret to entice you to give me milk. I just want you to know the truth." "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not a stupid woman like Boris." Lan Ji said, "I'm the princess of the empire. Do you think I'll give you milk for a piece of spirit ore? You say you're not tempting me, but you're tempting me. Despicable." Charlotte smiled indifferently. "I know that you and your father want to redeem the Star of Ice from the Blue Moon people. The price is 1 billion Blue Moon dollars, but you can't afford it. You and your father need to pay a deposit of 300,000 Blue Moon dollars every year, and it's very difficult to gather this money. That's why you're so greedy for money, right?" "You? How do you know?" Lan Ji looked very surprised. Don't worry about how I know. In your eyes, everything is business. Why don't we do a business? Charlotte said, I'll help you get that money. This piece of top-grade level 1 spirit ore is my deposit for you. You just need to give me milk while we're in Anshi Forest. How about it? Go to hell. Lan Ji suddenly threw the spirit ore at Charlotte. Charlotte reached out and grabbed the spirit ore. Lan Ji left the cave angrily. Charlotte smiled. I don't have the life of a princess, but I have the temper of a princess. If she agrees to my conditions, her milk will be the most expensive milk I've ever drunk in my life, right? She's not willing, but I'm not. After we leave Anshi Forest, Boris will give me as much as I want to drink, and it's free of charge. It's fine if you don't want it, but I don't care. It would be a lie to say that he didn't care. The mysterious bloodline of the Akimis Empire's royal family was a big temptation to him. Lan Ji's milk and Boris's milk would definitely be different. But even if he couldn't eat the grapes, what was wrong with saying that the grapes were sour? However, just as Xia Lei was fiddling with the strange instrument that was a square foot long and was about to study it, Lan Ji suddenly turned around and said loudly, "Propose to me." Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Chapter 1431. Ask me to marry you. This sentence gave Xia Lei a big fright. He looked at Lan Ji blankly. His thoughts stopped and he didn't know what to say. Lan Ji strode in front of Charlotte. Her eyes were hot. Did you hear what I said? I asked you to propose to me. Xia Lei, on the other hand, was still in a daze with a blank look on his face. Don't you want to drink my milk? I'm the princess of the Akimis Empire. I won't let you take advantage of me like Policia. Only my husband can touch my body. If you want to drink my milk, you have to marry me. Lan Ji said. Although the Akimis Empire no longer existed, she was still a descendant of the royal family. She was a princess. How could she be the same as Policia? Policia was just a poor widow. Her requirements were very low, so low that it couldn't be any lower. She was a princess. How could her requirements be the same as a widow's? Charlotte finally came back to his senses. He smiled awkwardly. I really want to drink your milk, but I don't want to marry you. I don't want to touch your body when I drink your milk. I just need to hypnotize your body and let it enter the breastfeeding period. Then you can send it to me. You can hypnotize my body? Lan Ji looked very surprised. Of course. Why else do you think Policia produces milk? Charlotte said. He wanted to drink Lan Ji's milk. The basic principle of milk production, or rather, the basic reason, had to be told to her. 1 billion blue moon dollars? And you won't touch my milk. I'll just give it to you? Charlotte nodded. Yes, this is my deal. If you agree, your milk will be the most expensive milk in the universe. If you miss this opportunity, you won't find a fool like me to buy your milk again. Your milk is equal to the homeland of the Akimis people. The Star of Ice is also equal to the hope of the Akimis Empire's restoration. So, think about it seriously. 1 billion blue moon dollars to buy milk was indeed the most expensive milk in the universe. Charlotte's sincerity was higher than the heavens. However, in the face of such sincerity, Lan Ji smiled, and the pair of big breasts on her chest trembled nonstop. Ha ha ha, what are you laughing at? You liar, do you think I'm that kind of ignorant little girl? Give me a beautiful hope, and then I'll unbutton your clothes and satisfy your perverted desires? Let me tell you, I know how much money you have. Where did you get 1 billion blue moon dollars? I will earn it. 1 billion blue moon dollars isn't a big number for me. Charlotte said. On Earth, he had a net worth of trillions. His ability to make money was not something that Lan Ji and Lan Mu's father could compare to. Then we'll talk about it after you earn it. But by the time you earn that much money, I'm afraid I'll be old, and you won't have anything to eat even if you want to. Charlotte was in a difficult position, but he understood Lan Ji's thoughts. 1 billion blue moon dollars wasn't a small amount, and he didn't even have a plan to earn money. How could Lon Jier believe that he could give her 1 billion blue moon dollars? This is the last chance. Lon Jier hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "Propose to me, we'll get married, and I'll give you whatever you want." Charlotte thought for a moment before shaking his head. Lon Jier couldn't believe that Charlotte would reject her just like that. She glared at Charlotte and asked, "Why?" Charlotte smiled. "I'm used to being free, and I don't want to get married." "You bastard," Lon Jier said angrily. "You'd rather spend 1 billion blue moon dollars to buy my milk than marry me? Are you sick?" Charlotte smiled. "I'm not sick, I'm smart. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. If I propose to you, marry you, and become a member of the Achemis Empire's royal family, wouldn't I have an additional mission to help you restore your country? I have to earn money for you to redeem the Star of Ice, and I have to fight for you. But that's not all. Even if I help you redeem the Star of Ice, I still have to earn money to support my family and provide for your expenses. Am I right?" Lon Jier was speechless because that was really what she planned to do. Charlotte had the terrifying strength to send a few blue dragons flying with a slap, was good at earning money, and was also good-looking. She was going to marry someone in this life, so why not marry a man like Charlotte? Even if he did not have the bloodline of the Achemis royal family, his strength and the contributions he could make to the restoration of the Achemis Empire were enough to shut the mouths of those old fellows in the royal family. However, even such a secretive and far-sighted plan was seen through by Charlotte so easily. The two of them looked at each other and didn't speak. This matter was actually a smart person tempting a smart person, and the smart person scheming against the smart person, but no one succeeded. In the end, it was Charlotte who broke the silence between the two of them. "Forget it, it seems that I don't have the fortune to drink your milk. I'll wait until I leave the Forest of Rest and drink Polisai's milk. Her milk doesn't cost 1 billion blue moon dollars, not even a cent. You can drink widow's milk for the rest of your life. A princess, milk, like me, you won't be able to eat it for the rest of your life." Lon Jier left angrily. Her wish to eat the Achemis Empire's top-grade blue milk was now in vain. Charlotte smiled bitterly. He watched Lon Jier leave, then put away his thoughts and began to fiddle with the square instrument. The ancient instrument had 6 sides, forming a 1-foot square alloy box. However, there were no screws or rivets on any of the sides, and there were no signs of welding. Charlotte's heart was filled with confusion. What is this instrument used for? There are no screws or welding marks on all 6 sides, so how did so many parts fit in? It can't be assembled by a production line. Even with the technology of the Blue Moon people, they might not be able to fit so many parts into a completely sealed alloy box. But if it's man-made, what kind of person's craftsmanship could be so insane? He had the ability to defy the heavens in this aspect, but even he could not do it. While fiddling with the square instrument, Charlotte's brain was operating in extraordinary mode. His brain directed his eyes to scan the interior of the instrument, collecting all the data within it, down to the size of each part, the arrangement of the electronic components, and so on. Then, based on the data collected, he analyzed and calculated, coming up with various hypotheses about the nature of the instrument and the way to open it. A few minutes later, a keyword suddenly flashed in his mind. It was the word that Lon Jier had just said, omnipotent. After this keyword flashed, Charlotte's thoughts became active in that direction. The Achemis people have mastered the secret of spirit ores more than 3,000 years ago, and the Blue Moon people are also using the energy extracted from spirit ores. This energy is omnipotent, so could the owner of this instrument have come to the Forest of Rest for the spirit ores? Is it possible that this device is powered by spiritual energy? Thinking of this, Charlotte suddenly had the idea of giving it a try. After that, he placed his right palm on the face of the square instrument and began to release the energy of the branding power. The purity of his branding power was 96%, second only to the World Stone, and even purer than the top-grade Level 1 spirit ores that the Blue Dragon Sunflower gave him. Also, it was more convenient than the spiritual energy stored in spirit ores because it could be used without needing to be extracted. This was like the oil of human civilization. Spirit ores were equivalent to crude oil, and they still needed to be refined in refineries. His body was like number 97 gasoline, and he just needed to enter the engine to make it work. Although this was only a plan that his brain had come up with under the state of transcendence, it became a reality after Xia Lei put it into action. When the branding power was injected into the square instrument actually trembled slightly. It was a very, very slight tremble, but Charlotte still caught it without missing a trace. After the square box trembled for a while, it became still and no longer had any reaction. Charlotte thought for a moment, then controlled the branding power and injected it into a cylindrical alloy container. He actually wasn't sure what the cylindrical alloy container was used for, but he had a feeling that it was used to store spiritual energy. The branding power entered the cylindrical alloy container drop by drop, and the cylindrical container gradually emitted a pure white light. The white light was filled with glowing particles, like the stars in the universe. It was impossible to count them. Why is there still no reaction? Charlotte was a little disappointed. Could it be that my guess was wrong? But just as he was thinking about this, the square instrument on the ground suddenly made a buzzing sound. Charlotte was startled by it, and hurriedly raised his palm, ending the input of the branding power. Although he had already stopped the input of the branding power, the square instrument's reaction was even more obvious, and the buzzing sound was also non-stop. Then, the square box that was facing the sky suddenly felt slightly cold. It was activated. Charlotte's heart was filled with excitement. He stared nervously at the square instrument on the ground, observing its movements. The square box that was facing the sky became brighter and brighter, and then 2 eyes appeared. It was a pair of blue round eyes, each as big as Charlotte's fist. After the eyes appeared, a mouth appeared. It looked like 2 sausages overlapping each other, very ugly and funny. Facing such a funny face, Charlotte couldn't laugh at all. He was even a little confused. Could this be a toy of some advanced civilization? Caw-caw, caw-caw. The sound of mechanical parts suddenly came from inside the square instrument, and finally 2 feet suddenly stretched out, and then 2 hands stretched out. The hands and feet were made of alloy parts, and they looked stiff and clumsy, but they were actually waving in the air, very nimble. Crash! The square instrument used its pair of small hands to support itself on the ground. That movement seemed to be trying to get up, but for some reason it fell down again. Ouch! A sound came from the square instrument. It can speak? Charlotte stared at the square instrument in surprise. The square instrument's 2 orange-like eyes stared straight at Charlotte, and then a series of words came from its body. There were many different languages, but Charlotte had not heard any of them before. Finally, the square box spoke in a Chemis language. "You idiot, I have spoken more than 100 languages, and you can't understand a single one. Can't you see that I have no strength to get up? Give me a hand, idiot." This time, Charlotte understood. He had been inexplicably scolded by the square instrument, and it had used more than 100 languages. Perhaps the words used to scold him were different. Hey! F***CKU, say something. Are you a pig? You're so stupid. If you were my son, I would shoot you into the wall. This time, the square box spoke in the Blue Moon language. Charlotte also understood, and he suddenly kicked the square instrument. Chapter 1432. With Xia Lei's kick, the square box immediately flew up. Ah! The square box screamed. Danger! Help! Clang! The square box fell to the ground and skidded for about a meter before stopping. It was unscathed, but there were a few scratches on the ground. Charlotte walked toward the square box. Don't kill me. The box crawled up from the ground and begged for mercy in a pitiful voice. I have a family, and an 80-year-old mother. What will happen to them if you kill me? This time, it spoke in the alchemist language. It seemed to think that Charlotte was a real alchemist. Charlotte was wearing a blue armor, and there were some black marks on his body from last night's battle. They looked like the black stripes of the alchemist. However, his face was a flaw, but how could a box that had just woken up notice these details? Only then did Charlotte speak. I'm not an alchemist. I'm a human. Do you know humans? The square box shook its head. What are humans? Before it could curse, the square box seemed to realize something. It raised a pair of stubby hands to cover its mouth. It looked like a child that had said something wrong and was afraid of being punished. It was hilarious. Xiaolei could not help but laugh. It took him a lot of effort to hold back his laughter. I didn't kill you. In fact, I saved you. But you have to tell me, what are you? Where did you come from? The square-shaped box released its pair of short hands and blinked its big round eyes. I call you Daddy. Charlotte turned around and picked up a stone from the ground. He then strode toward the square box. Don't. The square box slapped its mouth. I can't change my bad habit of taking advantage of others. You're the daddy. Oh no, you're the grandpa. Charlotte threw the stone on the ground. You can still speak now because I used my energy to activate you. But it's just a little bit. You won't be able to maintain it for long. Answer my questions honestly. If I think you're useful, I'll use my energy to support you. If you're useless to me, do you think I'll raise a trash like you who only knows how to take advantage of others? The square box was silent for a moment before saying, I'm from the Star of Ice. I'm the general of Holy King Lenderay of the Archimedes Empire. Alright, I'm actually a pet, the pet of his little prince. My code name is Flaming White Dragon. Please don't look at me like that, I'm scared. Alright, my code name is Good Square. I am a robot, a very good robot. I can sweep, cook, massage, and I can even tell jokes. It looked funny, and its code name was also funny, but Charlotte didn't feel like laughing at all. On the contrary, he was surprised. I didn't expect it to be a robot from the Archimedes Empire. The power of the Archimedes Empire is beyond my imagination. How could such a powerful civilization be destroyed? I'm so pitiful now. Adopt me. I can call you Daddy. Good Square said with a pitiful look. Is what you said true? As he spoke, Charlotte quietly released the energy field of the branding power. The entire cave was under his control. However, he didn't catch anything. Good Square was an ancient robot. It didn't release any brain waves at all. I swear, what I said is true. Good Square got up from the ground and stared at the animal skin bag behind Charlotte with its big eyes. His eyes suddenly lit up a little. The animal skin bag contained the spirit ores that Blue Dragon Sunflower gave to Charlotte, including the top-grade level 1 spirit ore. You want spirit ores? Charlotte saw all of Good Square's reactions. Daddy, can you give me one? Good Square raised its short hand. I want the brightest one at the top. It's so beautiful. Then give me something useful. I'm very interested in your story. Charlotte said. Then give me one first. I haven't eaten for thousands of years. I'm King starving. I feel like if I don't eat some, I'll die immediately. Charlotte walked over and picked up the animal skin bag. Then, he picked out the worst quality spirit ore and threw it to Good Square. He was actually very curious about how Good Square would eat spirit ores, so he gave it one. Good Square stretched out its short hand and picked up the spirit ore. Then, it fed it to its mouth. Every surface was flat, without any gap. Its eyes and mouth were actually virtual on the flat surface. They weren't real eyes and mouth. But just as its short hand was about to bring the spirit ore to its mouth suddenly opened and stuffed the spirit ore the size of a baby's fist into its mouth. Charlotte was stunned. He could clearly see that the ancient alloy was like human flesh and blood. In that instant it became extremely soft, truly like a human's mouth opening. Goo 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 goo, a strange sound came from Good Square's body. Charlotte's eyes followed closely. He saw Good Square's mouth feeding the spirit ore into the cylindrical container. In that instant the cylindrical container also changed shape, and it just happened to completely envelop the spirit organ. Then, the spirit ore began to release spiritual energy. Its color slowly changed. Charlotte came to a shocking conclusion. The alloy that formed Good Square was a life alloy. Scientists on Earth had this kind of hypothesis, but there wasn't any related research. This kind of life alloy had only appeared in movies. For example, the killer robot in Terminator, that could change its form at will. No wonder he didn't see any screws or rivets, but its stomach could store so many parts. My God, it feels so good. Level 3 Spirit or Spiritual Energy Purity 15. I actually felt so good eating such a trash spirit ore. I'm so King hungry. Dad, give me another one. Good Square's face revealed a fawning smile. I'm not your dad. I've already given you a spirit ore. It's time for you to tell me your story. Charlotte said. Then how about I call you Master? Whatever you want. Charlotte was a little impatient. Good Square shivered and hurriedly said, I have to start with Saint King Lon Deli. He was the last emperor of the Achemis Empire. He was actually a very good emperor. He sympathized with the people and developed education and technology. But in the end, he couldn't change the fate of the empire. Corruption was the most important reason for the empire's demise. During Saint King Lon Deli's reign, the officials of the empire were like blood-sucking worms that destroyed the foundation of the empire. Almost every official was corrupt. The Blue Moon people appeared at that time. They first contacted us in a friendly manner. The empire and the Blue Moon people established a trade relationship. At the beginning, the cooperation was very pleasant. The empire also earned a lot of benefits from the Blue Moon people. But the good times didn't last long. The Blue Moon people took the opportunity of trading with the empire to invade the empire's political and military system. Many officials and soldiers were bribed by the Blue Moon people. They secretly provided information to the Blue Moon people and even sold the empire's advanced weapons and military technology. The war still happened. The empire that was strong on the outside but weak on the inside collapsed. The Star of Ice fell. On the night before the empire was attacked, Saint King Lon Deli entrusted a central general to take his youngest son, my master, to escape the empire on a spaceship. Our goal was to find the prisoners who were carrying out the stone hunting project and then rebuild our civilization. That spaceship carried important resources. It contained the psionic technology that the Achemis had mastered, as well as military technology, seeds, and educational materials. It could be said that the spaceship was a seed of the Achemis Empire. As for me, I was also an extremely important member of that spaceship. I represented the Achemis Empire's most advanced artificial intelligence technology and material technology. The material that formed me was a biological alloy. I could change my shape at will. However, that was only possible when my energy reserve reached 80%. Also, as a backup, my brain stored the Achemis Empire's most important science and technology, including civilian technology, military technology, and material technology. Hearing this, Charlotte's heart started palpitating. He couldn't help but want to get those things immediately, but in the end, he resisted the urge. Haste makes waste. The good prescription in front of him looked quite amusing, but it represented the Achemis Empire's most advanced technology. It would be strange if it was as gullible as a child. The good prescription continued. After sacrificing many frigates, we successfully escaped from the Star of Ice and arrived at the Star of Hope. Holy King Lon Deli planned everything, but he missed one point. The Forest of Rest had an energy field that interfered with the spaceship's control system. We fell from the sky, and unfortunately, we met a few blue titans. The general protecting the prince died in battle, and the Empire's soldiers on the spaceship also died in battle. My poor little master, the future emperor of the Asmis Empire, was also swallowed into the stomach of a blue dragon. Those detestable blue titans didn't even let me go. They took turns to step on me, flattening me. I used up all my energy to repair the damage they had done to me, and turned into a square shape. Now that I think about it, those blue dragons must have been because I used the spaceship's PA system to scold them during the battle. I can't bear to look back on the past. The moment I used up all my energy, I felt that I would never wake up again in this life. Even if I had psionic power, no one could put energy into my energy conversion system. Forcibly cutting open my body is tantamount to directly destroying me. But I didn't expect Master to have the ability to wake me up. I never understood this. My beautiful Master, how did you do it? This was Hao Feng's story. After listening, Charlotte couldn't help but sigh. No matter how strong an empire was, it couldn't resist the enemy of corruption. Just like a towering tree, the wind and rain couldn't move it, but once the roots were damaged, it was destined to die. My beautiful Master, can you answer this question of mine? Hao Feng clasped its pair of short hands, a cute expression on its face. For some reason, a cartoon character suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind, SpongeBob SquarePants. I am. Charlotte's brain started to make up a story. I am the one chosen by the Queen of Rest. She has bestowed me with extraordinary abilities. I have a purity of 96% psionic power on me, and I can use it freely. So, you won't be able to find another master like me. Follow me, as long as you work for me, the psionic power you want will be a piece of cake for me. Hao Feng's eyes lit up, and it jumped up. Oh my God! Wow! 96%. Suddenly, a woman's voice came from the cave entrance. Are you following me? Without waiting for Charlotte to speak, Hao Feng blurted out, Oh my God! Which stupid woman interrupted me? Has your mouth ever eaten sh*t? Your chest is fake, right? Do you dare to show it to me? A large amount of black sweat had appeared on Charlotte's forehead. The guy with the mouth that ate sh*t, wasn't that him? Chapter 1433. Lan Ji was scolded, but when she saw Hao Feng, who had grown hands and feet, as well as eyes and a mouth, she was stunned and speechless. Hey! Stupid woman! Hao Feng's mouth was like a machine gun firing at full power. Didn't you hear me talking to you? Are you mute? Come here, kneel down and lick my beautiful master. Otherwise, I'll sell you to the mine. It seemed to want to release the desire to scold that had been suppressed for thousands of years. Lan Ji finally spoke, but it was only one word. Charlotte shrugged. Let me introduce you. This is my robot butler, Hao Feng. Lan Ji finally recognized it. Isn't it the square box? Charlotte said, Yes, it is that box. I awakened it. It is actually an ancient robot of your Asmis Empire. Lan Ji was stunned. Hao Feng walked to Charlotte's side with a pair of short legs. Master, who is this woman? Your woman? If so, I'll take back what I just scolded and slap myself 5 times. Charlotte said lightly, No. Lan Ji suddenly opened her arms and pounced on Hao Feng. Hao Feng, you are mine. Hao Feng's pair of short legs suddenly spun, and like a compass, he went around to Xia Lei's back. Then, he stuck his head out from behind Xia Lei's leg. Damn it, you don't have to be so direct even if I'm pretty, right? We've just met for the first time. Do you have to be so anxious? You're really a slut. Why don't you give my master a boob shake dance? I am the princess of the Asmis Empire, Lan Ji said excitedly. You are an ancient robot of the Asmis Empire. You are my property. Xiaolei furrowed his brows. The good recipe was a gift from Blue Dragon Sunflower, and it was also him who activated the good recipe. Now Lan Ji wanted to turn the good recipe into her private property. Wasn't she too greedy? Although he was very uncomfortable, he did not stop Lan Ji from saying that. From the perspective of their relationship, Hao Feng was the property of the Achemis Empire's royal family, and Lan Ji was the descendant princess of the Achemis Empire. She had the right to say that. Princess? Hao Feng looked surprised. The princess of the Achemis Empire? Right. Lan Ji nodded quickly with a smile on her face. I'm Lan Ji the surname of the Empire's royal family. I'm the Holy Ice Princess. You shouldn't be with a human, you should be with me. Holy Ice Princess. Yes. I have evidence. Come back with me, and I will show you my identity. Lan Ji was even more excited, and the smile on her face was even wider. You want me to be with you? Yes. Lan Ji's gaze moved to Charlotte's face. Although you activated it, it's the property of the Empire's royal family. You can't possess it. Hao Feng wants to be with me, and you can't stop it. Charlotte looked at her speechlessly. However, at this moment, Hao Feng suddenly jumped up and scolded, F***CKU, princess! The Empire has fallen, and you so-called royal families are still dreaming of restoring the country. Do you still want to order me around like a slave? Let me tell you, no way. I, your grandfather, will never serve any prince or princess again. I feel disgusted when I see you. I'm not anyone's property. I'm the flaming white dragon. I want to conquer this world with my beautiful master. No one was willing to be enslaved, even if it was just a robot with artificial intelligence. From the beginning, Charlotte did not order it around as a slave. He proposed that it work for him and then give it benefits. Lan Ji said that it was the property of the Empire's royal family and wanted it to go with her. Property? Wasn't that treating it as a robot slave? If it followed her, it would still be able to live the life of serving princes and princesses. However, if it followed Charlotte, it would be able to live a luxurious life. How should it choose? Did it need to think for a long time? More importantly, it knew very well that Charlotte did not lie to it. The purity of the energy he had used to awaken it had reached a terrifying 96%. I order you to go with me. Lan Ji roared at Hao Feng. Idiot. Hao Feng cursed casually, his face full of contempt. Let's not talk about the fact that you don't know my core control code. Even if you did, it would be useless. After I was trampled by those blue titans, it was a blessing in disguise, and I erased that code. You order me? What a funny idiot. Even if Saint King Lan Deli was reborn, he wouldn't be able to order me anymore. I'm a free machine now. Ah. With a savage laugh, the ancient robot of the Achemis Empire was free. Its current feeling was probably the same as the feelings of the black slaves at the end of the American Civil War. The freed serfs sang. Come over here. Lan Ji was not willing to give up. She suddenly reached out to grab Hao Feng. Charlotte grabbed her wrist. You can persuade it, but you can't make a move. It's the property of the Achemis Empire's royal family. Lan Ji raged at Charlotte. Are you trying to invade the Achemis Empire's royal family's property? Charlotte smiled. The Blue Moon people are still occupying your homeland, the Star of Ice. Why don't you go and reason with them and ask them to return it to you? I awakened it, and it's willing to follow me and be my butler. How is this invading the royal family's property? You are invading the royal family's property. Charlotte shrugged. All right, whatever you say is right. So, even if I'm invading the royal family's property, so what? You. Lan Ji was instantly infuriated. Hao Feng spat on the ground. Master, you're right. Charlotte said, Don't call me master. Call me boss. You said that you're a free machine now. You don't have a master, but you can have a boss. Yes, boss. Boss, you're so beautiful. Whatever you say is right, Hao Fong said in a fawning manner. Charlotte was speechless. Hao Fong stared at Lan Jie with his orange-like eyes. My boss is right. From now on, I'm a wise and mighty butler, not a robot slave. I don't have a master. You royal family members actually enslaved me in the ancient empire. That stupid prince used my beloved machine as a target and blew it into pieces just to practice his designs. I hate you. Restore the empire? Dream on. Now you know the importance of the common people? Why did you enslave them in the first place? The bureaucracy is corrupt, the common people are living in misery, and you royal family members are enjoying yourselves. There's nothing to be pitted about if such an empire is destroyed. That's not my fault. Lan Jie shouted at Hao Fong. Hao Fong spread out his short hands. So it's my fault? Charlotte said. All right, stop arguing. Lan Jie, Hao Fong is my butler now. It's not willing to follow you, so don't force it. It's with me now, and I have the obligation to protect it. So, don't do anything that makes things difficult for me. Lan Jie bit her lip and hesitated for a moment. Suddenly, she plucked up her courage and said, I'll exchange my milk with you. Charlotte was stunned for a moment and thought to himself, does she know Hao Fong's origin and what's stored in Hao Fong's brain? Do you want to exchange? Charlotte shook his head. No. Boss is wise. Hao Fong immediately praised him. Her milk is fake at first glance. How can it be so straight? Real milk is bound to droop. Her milk must have added steel bars and fillers. It's poisonous milk. Shut up. Lan Jie couldn't stand it anymore. Hao Fong refused to shut up and scolded again. Idiot, do you dare to show it? If you don't, it must be fake. Lan Jie was speechless. Charlotte probed, I gave you 1 billion blue moon dollars to buy your milk, but you didn't agree. Now, you're willing to exchange your milk for my butler. Why? While probing, he had quietly released the power of the imprint and brought the entire cave into his control. When dealing with a woman like Lan Jie who was extremely smart and liked to deceive people, he had to hold back. Lan Jie didn't answer him, but he had already captured Lan Jie's brain waves when she asked this question. She really knew about the existence of that spaceship and knew Hao Fong's origin and value. If 1 billion blue moon dollars couldn't move her to sell her milk, she would rather use her milk to exchange for Hao Fong. That was because the things stored in Hao Fong's brain were priceless wealth. Moreover, with Hao Fong's help, she could easily find the crash site of the spaceship, and the wealth of the royal family carried on that spaceship was far more than 1 billion blue moon dollars. A sneer appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. This woman really had a good plan. After a moment of silence, Charlotte said, Lan Jie, go. What? You want to chase me away? Lan Jie suddenly became nervous, and there was anger hidden in her eyes. Charlotte said, I have to always be on guard against being cheated by you when I'm with you. I'm tired. You've already gotten what you want. Go, I'll let the Blue Dragon King send a blue dragon to escort you out of the Forest of Rest. I'm not going. Lan Jie panicked. You promised me that you would take me to the Canyon of Origin. This is a part of the deal you made with my father. Are you going back on your word? Charlotte could actually chase her away directly, but he suddenly thought of Polisai, the pitiful woman who gave everything for him. There was a trace of hesitation in his heart. Lan Jie's father wasn't a kind person. If he did something to hurt Polisai because of this, he wouldn't be able to stop it from the faraway Forest of Rest. Are you hinting at something? Charlotte's eyes turned cold. Lan Jie avoided Charlotte's gaze. I don't. Charlotte said coldly, you know my strength. I'm warning you, you and your father better not even think about hurting Polisai. If you do that, I'll pay you back double. What a Chemis Empire's royal family. They're nothing in my eyes. You. Lan Jie wanted to curse, but she didn't dare to say it. She had seen how Charlotte killed people, but she wasn't afraid of that. However, the current Charlotte made her feel afraid. It's decided. I'll tell the Blue Dragon King, and let him send a blue dragon to escort you out of the Forest of Rest. Charlotte said, I've already given you what you want, so the deal is done. You have to keep your promise and protect Policy. After I leave the Forest of Rest, you have to hand her over to me in good condition. If you hurt her, I swear that I'll destroy the so-called royal family of your Archimedes empire. Lan Jier's mouth twitched, and 2 tears fell from the corner of her eyes. Think about it. When I return, you have to give me an answer. Charlotte walked out of the cave. Okay, let's go out for a walk. Yes, boss. Good Fong moved his pair of short legs and followed Charlotte out. When he passed by Lan Jier, he suddenly said, Idiot, can't you just give him your milk? You won't lose a piece of meat if he eats a few. Chapter 1434. Charlotte and Hao Fong wandered around Dragon Mountain for most of the day and chatted a lot. However, Charlotte did not ask about the specific location of the spaceship's crash. He did not want Hao Fong to think that he was after the treasure of the Archimedes Empire's spaceship. What he wanted was the Archimedes Empire's science and technology stored in Hao Fong's brain, as well as its history. It was a civilization defeated by the Blue Moon people. The history and experience of its struggle with the Blue Moon people were very important and valuable to humans. Charlotte asked, and Hao Fong answered. Hao Fong asked, and Charlotte answered. The man and the machine walked and chatted, and the things they wanted to know about each other kept increasing. Charlotte obtained the history and experience of the struggle between the Archimedes Empire and the Blue Moon people, while Hao Fong obtained the information on the current Hope Star. After all, it had been in hibernation for more than 3,000 years, so it did not understand the current world. The man and the machine arrived at the top of the mountain unknowingly. Dragon Mountain was very tall, and standing at the peak, one could see all the other mountains. The vast forest stretched out in sight, and there was no end to it. Boss, you said that your body carries psionic energy with a purity of 96%. Can you give me a little more? Hao Fong asked Charlotte, looking at him eagerly. Charlotte smiled, then placed his right hand on Hao Fong's square head. A wave of branding energy was released, and under his control, it poured into Hao Fong's head. Then, it flowed through its electronic components and mechanical parts, and finally entered his energy conversion system. Hao Fong had an intoxicated expression, like a drunkard who had drunk the best wine in the world. Every part of his body, every part was comfortable. 96%, it's really 96%. Hao Fong shook his head, looking like a drunken poet who was reciting poems on a windy mountaintop. A more accurate figure should actually be 96.1%. No, it should be 96.2%. Boss, after you woke me up, I actually knew that the energy you gave me was the purest energy I've ever come into contact with, but I couldn't guess how you injected such pure energy into my body. I thought of 10,001 possibilities, but I didn't think it would be this way. You just caressed me so casually and gently, and that pure energy entered my body. Boss, are you a god? In the past, when faced with such a question, Charlotte's answer would be no, but this time, he said, I'm also looking for an answer. Sometimes people can't be too honest. When it's time to pretend, it's time to pretend. Hao Fong's sudden request for some psionic energy was actually to test his strength. If he didn't have the strength to convince it, even if it followed him, it would hold back. That was why he agreed to it without hesitation and showed it his strength. Good Fong was not a human. The things that humans wanted, such as power, wealth, and beauty, were not attractive to it at all. It only wanted one thing, and that was spiritual energy. Charlotte was the only one in the world with a purity of 96%, second only to the world stone. If it didn't follow Charlotte, who else could it follow? Sure enough, after verifying Charlotte's strength again, Hao Feng's head suddenly looked around. After confirming that no one was nearby, it lowered its voice and said, "Boss, I know where the spaceship crashed. Lan Jie, that bitch, wanted to trick me into revealing the spaceship's location. I'm not that stupid. I can take you to the spaceship and take away all the treasures inside. There are treasures worth 1.5 billion blue moon dollars hidden in that spaceship." Xia Lei said indifferently, 1.5 billion blue moon coins. Is that money? Yes, money, blue moon dollars, Hao Feng said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment, then he laughed. Then why are we still looking for that spaceship? Can the blue moon dollars from thousands of years ago still be used now? Can't it be used anymore? Charlotte said, Of course not. People nowadays haven't even seen it, let alone let people receive that kind of money. The Blue Moon people have the currency now, just like the one in my pocket. He took out a Blue Moon dollar with a denomination of 1,000 and handed it to Hao Feng. Look, this is the currency that the Blue Moon people use now. Is it the same as the one in that spaceship? Hao Feng took the Blue Moon dollar and looked at it again, then he shook his head. It's not the same. Damn, so much money turned into waste paper. Those stupid Blue Moon people got it for nothing. Charlotte said, That still requires paper. There are a lot of bacteria on the money, and after thousands of years, those bacteria have already destroyed the money. Even if the Blue Moon people's special paper is extremely good, it can't resist the corrosion of thousands of years and bacteria. Hao Feng lowered his head and looked dejected. He wanted to make a good performance in front of Charlotte, but he didn't expect all his joy to be in vain. But you can tell me what else is on that spaceship, such as weapons, production equipment, and so on. Charlotte smiled and said, I don't care about money, I care more about those things. Hao Feng then became energetic again and said excitedly, Yes, there is a spaceship prepared for the restoration of the country. There are a lot of weapons and weapons production equipment on it. Charlotte thought for a while and said, If the Blue Dragon King takes a long time to prepare, you can bring me there. If it doesn't, we can go after we come back. Hao Feng said, It's not a problem when we go, but boss, that spaceship carries a lot of resources. With just the two of us, how much can we carry? Before we go, we have to solve the transportation problem first. Charlotte frowned. This is a tricky problem. At this time, a few blue dragons ran up the hill. Although they were still some distance away, they could feel the vibration from the running blue dragons from the ground. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Is the Blue Dragon King already prepared? So fast? Hao Feng scolded, Stupid blue dragons. Why are you running? You have already affected my boss's mood. When the blue dragons ran closer, Hao Feng decisively shut his mouth. His mouth was stinky, but he was definitely not stupid. A blue dragon sent a message. My friend, the ceremony is ready. Please come with us. After saying that, he put down his forelimbs, lay on the ground, and waited for Charlotte to climb onto his back. Although Charlotte had already guessed the intentions of these blue dragons, he was still very surprised. However, he did not hesitate. After sending the blue dragon a "OK" message, he climbed onto the back of the blue dragon. After climbing onto the back of the blue dragon, Charlotte reached out to Hao Feng, wanting to pull him up, but Hao Feng refused. No need, boss. This height is a piece of cake for me. As he spoke, Hao Feng's pair of short legs suddenly folded and overlapped, turning into the shape of a spring. Then, he suddenly released them, and his body flew up with a whoosh. He flew higher and higher. Charlotte was stunned as he watched Hao Feng fly over his head and fly down the hill. F***CK. I jumped too high. His voice came from the bottom of the hill. Clang. The sound of a heavy object hitting a rock came from the bottom of the hill. Charlotte couldn't help but cover his eyes with his hands. The blue dragon at the head brought Charlotte and Hao Feng to the front of a forest at the back of the Dragon Mountain. It was a very mysterious forest. Every tree in this forest was a towering tree. Dozens of people were needed to surround each tree. These towering trees had lived here for many years. Many of the trunks of the trees were empty, and some still had trees growing on them. Almost every tree was covered with vines. The vines were very thick, and the thickest was at least as thick as an adult's thigh. Countless vines hung from the canopy of the trees that were tens of meters high, forming a layer of intertwined web. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. "My friend, this is the residence of Queen of Rest." Charlotte was surprised. He sent a message. Queen of Rest's residence? Is it inside this forest? No, it is not inside. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. But as long as you go in, the great Queen of Rest will be able to sense your presence. This is like her home, and there are many such homes in the Forest of Rest. This is just one of them. If I go in, then she will know that I am here, and then, how will she let me go to her side to meet her? I have no way of knowing. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. After I left you, I came here to pray, and Queen of Rest allowed me to enter her residence. I sent a message to her, and I can feel her joy when she knows that you want to meet her. That is why it was so fast. If it was something else, the prayer ceremony would usually take a few days to get a response from Queen of Rest. So the so-called ceremony was to pray to Queen of Rest and beg for her response. This seemed like a religious belief. The Blue Dragons were devout believers, and Queen of Rest was the god they believed in and followed. The Blue Dragons prayed to Queen of Rest in a special place. Their brain waves were captured by the trees and vines here, and then transmitted to Queen of Rest in a special way. Queen of Rest would then respond to them. My friend, go in. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. After you go in, you will receive Queen of Rest's guidance and help. You guys are not going in? Charlotte sent a message. This time, Queen of Rest only allows you to go in. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. I want to bring my butler Indiana. Charlotte sent a message. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. My friend, this is not something I can decide. But you can send a message to Queen of Rest. If Queen of Rest agrees, you can bring your butler Indiana. Okay, I will go in and have a look. After Charlotte sent this message to the Blue Dragon King, he walked to Hao Feng's side. He said to Hao Feng, only I can go in for now. You wait for me outside. Okay, boss. Hao Feng rubbed its square head and said. Its action made people suspect that it had sensory nerve. The fall on the Dragon Mountain had damaged its head. Charlotte walked towards the ancient and mysterious forest. Wait. Lan Ji-er's voice suddenly came from behind. I want to go with you. Boss, that stupid woman is here. Hao Feng shouted. Do you want me to beat her up? Don't worry about her. Charlotte didn't even look back and quickly walked into the forest. Lan Ji-er suddenly sped up and rushed over. The Blue Dragons at the scene just looked at her and didn't stop her. However, Hao Feng suddenly cut across Lan Ji-er's running path. He spread his pair of short legs and raised his pair of short hands to intercept Lan Ji. Stupid woman. If you want to chase after my boss, you have to step on me. Bang! Lan Ji-er's right foot landed on Hao Feng's head, causing it to fall to the ground. Then, she stepped on its face with her other foot. Hao Feng's face suddenly had a small lady's footprint. Chapter 1435. Hao Feng's short legs bounced off the ground, and he jumped up from the ground with a whoosh. His face suddenly shifted from the front to the back, and his arms instantly switched from front to back. Then, he pushed his right arm forward, and his arm suddenly elongated. With a whoosh, his fist smashed into Lan Ji-er's perky butt. Lan Ji-er, who was running, did not expect Hao Feng to have such an ability. Caught off guard, she let out a muffled groan, lost her balance, and crashed into an ancient tree. Charlotte happened to walk past the ancient tree, and he saw everything that had just happened. He saw Hao Fong suddenly elongate his arm and smash his fist into Lan Ji-er's butt. Then, Lan Ji threw herself at him. Charlotte frowned. She's really a sticky piece of gum. Once she's stuck to me, I can't get rid of her. What do I have to do to make her give up? However, at this moment, the vines on the ancient tree all rose up. It was not just this one. The vines on the ancient trees at the front of the ancient forest all flew up, instantly forming a real net. It was a boundless net. Bang! Lan Ji-er's body hit the net formed by the vines. Suddenly, there was another muffled sound, and her body was immediately bounced back. After flying for a few meters, she fell to the ground, landing on her but with her hands and feet facing the sky. At the moment when Lan Ji-er was bounced back, Charlotte very clearly captured an energy field, as well as the movement of a mysterious energy. That mysterious energy was directed at Lan Ji-er, and it was very terrifying. If it wanted Lan Ji-er's life, she would probably be a pile of minced meat by now. This was obviously just a warning punishment. Lan Ji-er got up from the ground, and looked at Charlotte behind the net formed by the vines. Her tears flowed silently. Ha ha ha! Idiot! Idiot! Hao Fong laughed. You're the stupidest idiot I've ever seen, and you're a poisonous idiot. Oh ha ha! Lan Ji-er did not react at all, but her tears flowed even faster. For some reason, seeing her fall down in a sorry state and seeing her cry, Charlotte felt a sense of guilt. However, he still made his choice and turned to walk into the depths of the forest. The forest was shrouded in a thin layer of mist, and towering trees rose from the ground into the clouds. The white mist floated like ribbons between the tree trunks and the canopy. The ancient and mysterious aura was everywhere, and this forest gave people a feeling of a fantasy fairyland. Charlotte walked forward step by step. The ground under his feet was very wet, and there was not a single weed. It was unknown how vast this ancient and mysterious forest was, but it looked very pure. There were only towering trees and vines hanging from the trees. Other than that, there was nothing else. After walking for a short distance, Xia Lei looked back. It was very strange. He was sure that he hadn't walked far, but when he looked back, he couldn't see the Blue Dragon King and his Blue Dragon, Hao Fong and Lan Ji-er anymore. Even if he used his X-ray vision, he couldn't see them. Charlotte braced himself and walked forward. After walking for a while, all the ancient trees suddenly emitted a breathtaking aura. He even felt that they weren't trees, but ancient guards. They were guarding some secret here, and anyone who approached would die. In such an environment, under the breathtaking aura created by countless ancient trees, Charlotte couldn't help but feel a little nervous. I'm already here. Charlotte continued to walk forward and shouted, "Can you hear my voice? Can you receive my message? If you can hear my voice or receive my message, then please respond to me." Whoosh, whoosh, the canopies suddenly shook, but there was no wind at this time. All the canopies and vines moved without any wind. Was this the response of Queen R.I.P.? Xia Lei stopped in his tracks and calmed down. He released the energy field of his brand and began to capture all the information in this area. At first, he didn't capture anything until a strange sound suddenly appeared. It was mixed with the sound of the canopies and vines swaying. If his ears hadn't evolved to be more sensitive than a dog's, Charlotte wouldn't have been able to hear that sound. After this sound appeared, his branding power energy field captured a piece of information, and then a voice appeared in his mind. This voice was not a man's voice, nor was it a woman's voice. This voice was particularly old, vicissitudes, hoarse, and dry. It gave people the feeling that a tree or stone that had lived for hundreds of millions of years suddenly grew a mouth and spoke. "You are the person I've been looking for. You've finally come. I've been waiting for this day for a long, long time. Who are you? Why did you wait for me? Why am I the person you're looking for?" Xia Lei transmitted his message through the energy field of the branding power. He had too many questions that he wanted to find answers to from it. "You'll know when we meet. Queen RIP's message. Why not tell me now? I can't maintain this connection for too long, and what I want to talk to you about is very complicated. With your ability, is it difficult to transmit more information? This isn't a phone call. You can effortlessly receive messages here, but I need to go through the roots of the tree to transmit and receive a message. I'm about 50,000 kilometers away from you, and this will consume a lot of my energy. Charlotte was shocked on the spot. 50,000 kilometers. This distance was even longer than the Earth's equator. But what shocked him wasn't the distance between him and Queen RIP, but the fact that Queen RIP was able to transmit information through the roots in the ground. This was like a tens of thousands of kilometers long call with him. He couldn't imagine how Queen RIP managed to do this. This world was full of mysteries that couldn't be explained. Charlotte didn't believe Queen RIP's words at first, but after hearing this explanation, he believed it. Even a real god would have to spend a lot of effort to establish a connection like this. I can meet you. This is what I want, because I have a lot of questions to ask you, and I want to get answers from you. Charlotte sent a new message to Queen RIP. I know what you want to ask, and I've already prepared the answer for you. I'm about 50,000 kilometers away from you, and I need to pass through Lon Tan's territory. It'll be very difficult and it'll take a long time, so I need your help. Do you have any way to get me to you as soon as possible? Of course, I'll let Kong Tan help you. Kong Tan? You'll know when the time comes. If there's anything else you need me to do for you, tell me as soon as possible. We can't talk like this for a long time. I want to bring 2 friends with me. Charlotte originally wanted to say one, which was a good recipe. But when the words reached his mouth, Lon Ji's teary eyes suddenly appeared in his mind. Then he didn't know why, but he changed his decision from 1 to 2. I promise you. That's it. I'm looking forward to our meeting. This was Queen RIP's last message. The swaying treetops and vines stopped, and the ancient and mysterious forest regained its peace. There was no sound of wind, birds, or insects. It was so quiet that it was like an ancient graveyard where countless creatures were buried. Charlotte turned around and left. He thought to himself, what is Kong Tan? A type of raptor? But even if it's a raptor, flying tens of thousands of kilometers isn't an easy task, right? It wasn't a Stargate teleportation, but a raptor was sent to pick him up. This method made Charlotte a little disappointed. After walking for a short while, Charlotte saw the Blue Dragon King and his Blue Dragon standing outside the forest, as well as Hao Fong and Lon Ji. Lon Ji stood there quietly, and her tears flowed down one after another. No one cared about her, and she cried alone. She looked very lonely and helpless. Sigh. Charlotte sighed. He felt a headache coming on. I'm always too soft-hearted. She's actually a pitiful woman. Charlotte walked out of the ancient forest. Wow. My beautiful and generous boss is out. Hao Fong's voice was filled with flattery. The Blue Dragon King sent a message. My friend, what instructions did Queen RIP give you? Charlotte sent his message. Queen RIP will send a Kong Tan to pick me up. I'll leave when the Kong Tan arrives. Oh right, what is an Kong Tan? The legendary king of the Kong Tan. Its wings can allow me to run on its wings. Its claws could easily grab huge rocks, and even Lon Tan was no match for it. I'm afraid only the rock spirit can compete with it. The Blue Dragon King's message. Charlotte's brain couldn't help but picture the appearance of an Kong Tan. But no matter how he tried, it didn't seem like it. If it can allow a blue dragon to run on its wings, what kind of raptor is that? It's simply an aircraft carrier made of flesh and blood. Such a big bird, how heavy is it? How much kinetic energy does it need to fly into the sky? Not to mention using its claws to grab a huge rock. I'm afraid even a mountain can be flattened with a few claws. My friend, I'm just guessing based on the legends I've heard. I've never seen a real Kong Tan. I also heard that it can fly 50,000 kilometers a day. If the Queen of Rest sends a space tank to pick you up, you should be able to leave in about a day. After that, you should be able to see the Queen of Rest. The Blue Dragon King's message was from the Blue Dragon King. Charlotte smiled. Thank you for telling me this, respected Blue Dragon King. I have a request. After I leave, please take care of my friend Rihua. Is that okay? No problem, I promise you. The Blue Dragon King left with his blue dragon. Charlotte walked towards Langier. Langier wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes with the back of her hand. Then, she turned her head to the side and didn't look at Charlotte. Charlotte said, When can you change your bad habit of being rash? Do you know that what you did just now was very dangerous? Those ancient books aren't simple at all. If they wanted your life, you'd already be dead. It's good that I'm dead. Langier choked. Anyway, no one cares about me. I don't have to be bullied by you and that piece of scrap metal anymore. That piece of scrap metal was obviously talking about Hao Fong. Hey, stupid bitch, who are you talking about? Hao Fong jumped up excitedly. Try scolding me again. I'll give you another punch. Hao Fong, Charlotte said. Although Charlotte didn't say anything, Hao Fong still cleverly shut his mouth. Charlotte said, I've already talked to Queen R.I.P. I'll bring you and Hao Fong to the Canyon of Origin. Langier was slightly stunned. Why did you change your mind? Because you're pitiful. Charlotte brushed past her. Also, don't think about the wealth in that spaceship. Hao Fong said that the stupid Holy King Lan Deli's spaceship was indeed filled with wealth worth 1.5 billion blue moon coins. But it was filled with blue moon coins. Do you think money from thousands of years ago can still be used now? Even if it can be used, that money has already turned to mud. Langier's lips moved. Her voice was very soft. Why are you telling me this? Because you're pitiful, Charlotte said. Langier's mouth suddenly revealed a trace of a smile, but her tears flowed out again. Chapter 1436. The rain came without warning, and the night on Dragon Mountain was no longer quiet. Dark clouds covered the blue moon in the sky, and the pitter-patter of the rain silenced the birds and beasts. There was no light, and the entire Dragon Mountain was pitch black. Naturally, this was how it should be. In a cave on Dragon Mountain, however, there was a different scene. One of Hao Fong's big eyes projected a three-dimensional projection of an energy conversion system. This energy conversion system could directly extract spiritual energy from spirit ores and convert it into kinetic energy for a large spaceship to fly. It was very large and very complicated. Charlotte had never encountered such an energy conversion system before. He was fascinated and immersed in the new technology. His brain was like a sponge that had been exposed to the sun for a few days, greedily absorbing the moisture of scientific knowledge. This energy conversion system was the energy conversion system of the crashed spaceship, which was called Ice Star. In Charlotte's eyes, it was the lungs of Ice Star, and the heart was the spaceship's engine. Without an energy conversion system to provide energy for the spaceship, even the most powerful engine would not be able to operate. Boss, can you tell me why you are so interested in that spaceship? Hao Fong's voice was heard. Charlotte said, I'm thinking that it wasn't destroyed. It just fell because of the interference of the Forest of Rest's energy field. Its damage shouldn't be too serious. If we can repair it, maybe we won't have to worry about how to transport the materials in the spaceship out of the Forest of Rest anymore. Haha. Boss, you are indeed the smartest person I have ever met. Why didn't I think of such a brilliant idea? The gap between us is really too big. Hao Fong's words flowed like a river, and his words of praise flowed without end. Charlotte laughed. I am the first human you have ever met, okay? Of course I am the smartest. He. Hao Fong giggled a few times. But boss, I don't think you can do it. Why? Repairing spaceships has always been done by robots. They are called engineers in the Achemis Empire's military system. Their processors store all of the spaceship structure and related troubleshooting procedures. Your brain can't store so much. Moreover, that ship has already crashed for thousands of years. There must be countless malfunctions. Even if you master all the skills of an engineer, I'm afraid it will still take you several years to fix that ship. Hao Feng said. Charlotte said, then show me a projection of an engineer robot. Let me see. Hao Feng immediately deactivated the three-dimensional projection of the energy conversion system and projected a three-dimensional projection of a robot in front of it. Before this robot projection appeared, Charlotte thought it would be a humanoid projection. But what appeared in front of him was a caterpillar robot that was shorter than Hao Feng. It had several arms, some of which were equipped with wrenches, some with welding torches, and some with connectors for data transmission. Although it was very small, one could tell at a glance that it was multifaceted. Charlotte couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, with such a small size, it's convenient for it to enter the internal parts of the equipment for maintenance. It's not a human's feet but caterpillar tracks, which allows it to adapt to more environments. The Achemis technology is really impressive. Such a powerful civilization was defeated by the Blue Moon people. How impressive! The Achemis Empire lost to itself, to corruption, not to the Blue Moon people. The Blue Moon people were just a bunch of thieves. They appeared at the most appropriate time and bought the most appropriate people, Hao Feng said. Charlotte thought of the Ming dynasty. At that time, the Ming dynasty was the most powerful civilization on Earth, but the bureaucracy was corrupt, and the people had no way of making a living. In the end, the Manchurian Qing invaded and bought Wu Sangui, and the Ming dynasty was destroyed. It was a classic example of a backward civilization defeating an advanced one. Different planets, different space-time, but the history was shockingly similar. Disassemble it. I want to see its internal structure, Charlotte said. Hao Feng disassembled the engineer robot and showed its internal structure. Charlotte was once again attracted to it. Time passed bit by bit, but Charlotte didn't realize it at all. He was completely immersed in the Achemis technology, unable to extricate himself. If he brought the Achemis technology to Earth, he could casually build the Rema Group into the world's most powerful arms company. He could also casually make China the world's most powerful country, and even single-handedly unify the world. Then, he could integrate humanity's power and migrate to Earth-like planets, creating a new era that belonged to humanity. Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted. Charlotte, who had let his thoughts run wild and imagined the future of humanity on Earth, suddenly caught on to something, but it seemed to be just a fleeting thought. When he tried to pull it back, there was nothing. However, this was not a problem for him. He suddenly released the energy field of the branding power, and very quickly, he caught the brainwaves released by his own brain. He quickly caught that fleeting thought from the brainwaves that were still floating in the air and had not dissipated. At that moment, his brain thought of reincarnation. He came from Earth 1,000 years ago and came to the New World 1,000 years later. In this new world, he fought, learned, and fought for his destiny. If he could return to Earth, he would change the destiny of humanity on Earth. Then, humans migrated to the New World. The Holy Thunder appeared out of nowhere and led the migrating humans to establish human civilization. The Blue Moon people invaded and destroyed human civilization. He was chosen, he was summoned, and he came to the New World. Many people, many events, seemed to form a circle. Was his destiny going to revolve around this circle? From the beginning to the end, and from the end to the beginning. Suddenly thinking of this, Charlotte's heart was filled with confusion and fear. Behind these many people, many events, there seemed to be a giant hand that reached the heavens, and it was controlling everything. If he was Sun Wukong, then the owner of that giant hand was Buddha Tathagata. All stories should have an ending, just like how everyone will have their own death. Then, what is the ending of my story? Unable to imagine, Charlotte's lips curled into a bitter smile. Boss! Hao Fang's voice interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. You've been staring at the internal structure of the robot engineer for an hour. You haven't said a word, and you haven't moved. Are you asleep? I'm not asleep, Charlotte said. I'm learning. He was indeed learning. Even when his brain was thinking about life, his brain was also studying and learning the technology of the Ahemus. His brain could multitask, and it did not affect each other. In an hour, he had already memorized all the internal structure of the robot engineer, as well as the relevant technological knowledge. Hao Fang suddenly cancelled the 3D projection of the robot engineer. Boss, that stupid woman is here. In fact, Charlotte knew that someone had come earlier than Hao Fang. Other than him, Lan Ji was the only person on Dragon Mountain, so he did not even need to probe to know that it was her. Lan Ji walked into the cave, her body dripping wet. The rain outside was not heavy, but it was still falling. Xiaolei shifted his gaze and looked at the drenched Lan Ji. Where did you go? Aren't you afraid of getting sick? Lan Ji said, Hao Fang, please go out for a while. I want to talk to your boss. You want Grandpa to go out? Hao Fang said disdainfully. Who do you think you are? A princess? Oh, you're really a princess. But I won't go out. If I go out, you'll rape my boss. My boss is so beautiful, I have to protect him. Charlotte, I don't want to quarrel with you. I have something very important to discuss with your boss, Lan Ji said. Charlotte said, You can say it in front of Hao Fang. It's okay. Lan Ji bit her lip. About the milk, I want to talk to you alone. Lan Ji was the perfect princess of Ahemus. It was indeed not good to talk about such a thing in front of Hao Fang. Charlotte looked at Hao Fang. Hao Fang put his pair of short hands behind his back, then slowly walked out of the cave. As he walked, he said, Damn, this rain reminds me of the famous poet Alfonso. He said that every drop of rain is the tears of stupid women, and the number of raindrops corresponds to the number of women crying. I want to see how many women are crying, and I suspect that there are some stupid women in those tears. In a string of filthy words, Hao Fang's square back disappeared at the entrance of the cave. Old hooligan! Rotten iron! Lan Ji spat softly. When Hao Fang was here, she definitely did not dare to scold him, because that was what Hao Fang wanted. Charlotte smiled. It has a bad habit, but it's nothing. Then he changed the topic. You said that you wanted to talk to me. Why do you want to talk to me? Lan Ji walked in front of Charlotte. You want to drink my milk, but you're too embarrassed to say that word? Charlotte shrugged awkwardly. I'm just considering your feelings. I don't want you to be embarrassed. If I take the initiative to bring it up, I won't feel embarrassed. Lan Ji's eyes looked very firm. Then you say it. You know the mission I carry. I live for that mission, and I will die for that mission, so there's nothing I can't give, Lan Ji said. Charlotte said, Everything has an end, and there's no empire that lasts forever. The death of some things is the law of nature, and you should accept it calmly. You shouldn't live for a mission, you should live for yourself. Although this world is terrible, I believe that you will be able to find the happiness that belongs to you. Lan Ji smiled bitterly. What are you doing? Giving me psychological intervention? I don't need this. Then what do you need? 1 billion blue moon dollars? Lan Ji shook her head. I don't want your money, and I don't want your good prescription. Even if you give me that old hooligan now, I will kick him away. Then, what do you want? She didn't want money, and she didn't want good prescription. This change was too fast, and Charlotte did not know how to talk to her. Lan Ji said word by word, I want you to kill the blue moon in the sky. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. This is what she wants? He didn't expect it at all. You said that my milk would make you stronger, and I'll make you stronger. I will feed you, and you will kill the blue moon in the sky. This is my condition, the only condition. For me, for humanity, I think you will, right? Lan Ji stared at Charlotte, her eyes burning and full of expectation. Charlotte nodded. Then it's a deal, Lan Ji said. Deal. Charlotte accepted, and then he couldn't wait any longer. Why don't you give me a little now? Lan Ji covered her chest. Let's wait until we reach Origin Canyon. Charlotte couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Chapter 1437. The cave was quiet. The man and woman stared at each other quietly, but they had their own thoughts in their hearts. Get rid of the blue moon. Lan Ji gave up the condition of 1 billion blue moon dollars and also gave up the property of the Archimedes Empire. Was she stupid? No, she was very smart. She gave up the plan of redeeming the Star of Ice with 1 billion blue moon dollars because even if she really had 1 billion blue moon dollars and gave it to Lan Sidi, it could still be a scam. If the blue moon people were trustworthy, the Archimedes Empire would not have been destroyed. Even though they knew that the deal was most likely a scam, she and her father still had to bite the bullet and agree to it. They even paid Lan Sidi 300,000 blue moon dollars as a deposit every year because they had no choice. To get back the property and make use of it to rebuild the Archimedes civilization? She knew that she did not have that ability. Since that was the case, why not bet all her chips on Charlotte? She saw him slap a few blue dragons away with her own eyes. She also saw him shoot Lan Tan to death with his bow and arrow. He had a magical power. More importantly, he was the person chosen by Queen of Rest. With her intelligence, how could she not see how extraordinary Xia Lei was after this series of experiences? Charlotte said that her milk would make him stronger, so she would nurture the strong. This matter was much simpler for Charlotte. Destroying the blue moon in the sky was something he had to do, and he had been working hard for it. Lan Ji's condition was equivalent to giving him milk for free, so why should he not agree? There was no free lunch in this world, let alone the milk of the Archimedes Empire's princess. The mysterious bloodline of the ancient royal family was invaluable to Charlotte. You agreed to my condition without thinking. Can you do it? Lan Ji broke the silence between the two. Xia Lei kept staring at her chest, and she couldn't take it anymore. Charlotte smiled. You are an extremely smart woman. Since you made such a condition, you must have thought about it carefully. My answer is not important to you, right? I hope you will keep your promise. If I'm the kind of person who doesn't keep his promise, you won't give me milk either, right? Charlotte's answer was very clever. You're still protecting Boris. I believe you're a man of your word. What she gave you was insignificant to you, but you did not give up on her. She was an unfortunate woman, but at the same time a very fortunate woman, said Longil. I'm actually very good to women. You'll know in the future, said Charlotte. Lan Ji rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Let me make this clear. I agreed to give you milk because I want you to become stronger so that you can defeat the Blue Moon people and destroy the Blue Moon. But I'm not your woman. I won't sleep with you. If you want milk, I will only give it to you. If you want to eat it yourself, don't even think about it. Charlotte, at this time, Hao Fong poked his head in from the entrance of the cave. He took a look and then said exaggeratedly, F***CK. Lan Ji, you're giving my boss milk. Why the F***CK are you still wearing clothes? Can't you open the zipper? Do you want me to help you? Lan Ji turned back to look at Hao Fong. The eyes of a man and a robot collided in the air. There were no sparks, but there was the smell of gunpowder. What are you looking at? Mother ***, I'll dig your eyes out. Idiot. Lan Ji suddenly exploded. She roared angrily and turned around to pounce on Hao Fong. I'm going to flatten you, stupid robot. Hao Fong jumped out and shouted, "Stupid woman! If you King come over, I'll crush your pair of fake breasts." A woman and a robot were instantly entangled. Charlotte held his head and closed his eyes because the scene was too unbearable to watch. This was just the beginning. He did not know how many times he would have to face such a scene in the future. For the next 2 days, Charlotte asked Hao Fong to show him the technology of the Akimis Empire that he had stored. With his extraordinary learning ability, he could remember it after seeing it, and learn it after remembering it. He mastered more and more technology of the Akimis Empire. In these 2 days, Hao Fong and Lan Jie quarreled 18 times. However, what made Charlotte deeply gratified was that on the first day, Hao Fong and Lan Jie quarreled 10 times, and on the second day they quarreled 8 times. There was a trend of decreasing. On the morning of the third day, before dawn, Charlotte left the cave where he lived temporarily and came to the top of Dragon Mountain. The wind was blowing on the top of the mountain, making a whistling sound. The temperature was also very low, and the rain and dew left on the ground had frozen. The ground was very slippery, but Charlotte's footsteps were very steady. His body's balance could be said to be perfect. Sometimes he did not even need to do any movement. His brain would control his nerves to adjust his bones and muscles to maintain balance. Charlotte came to a flat ground and then began to practice Wing Chun. He actually had very few opportunities to use Wing Chun, because whether it was on Earth or on this planet, firearms were the mainstream. The time to use cold weapons was also very rare, let alone martial arts. But even so, as long as he had time, he would practice Wing Chun, not for any other reason, because he always believed that a person's fists and feet were the ultimate weapons, not any guns or energy weapons. Kasha Ruiz and Ice Stab were 2 very typical examples. Having evolved into a pure energy form, they were not afraid of any attacks from firearms. Even bombs could not kill them. Ice Stab and Kasha Ruiz were his mortal enemies, and sooner or later he would have to face them. At that time, no guns would be useful, and all he could use was his martial arts and the power of the brand. Therefore, when it was time to practice martial arts, he still had to practice. Hey ha! Hey ha! Charlotte began to practice Wing Chun on the icy ground, and his fists and feet created wind. If Liang Jingchun and Liang Xiao were here, the father and daughter would be amazed, because Charlotte's every movement had the demeanor of a martial arts master. From the Wing Chun that he displayed, the accuracy and attack power of those movements, perhaps even if Liang Quan and Yen Yongchun were alive, they would not be able to do it. In just 5 minutes, Charlotte had finished all the routines of Wing Chun, but he was not done yet. His muscles and bones had just begun to move, and his body had endless power, and he wanted to vent it. If Ice Stab or Kasha Ruiz were in front of me, and I used the internal force of Wing Chun to run the power of the brand to fight with them, what would the effect be? This thought suddenly came to Charlotte's mind. He had the experience of using the power of the brand in fighting, but that was just a simple way of using power. After using the power of the brand, his body would get more power, and his speed would be faster, but the effect was not much better. In addition, he did not use Wing Chun to fight with Ice Stab and Kasha Ruiz, because he was too weak at that time. Every time they fought, Ice Stab or Kasha Ruiz would beat him to the ground. How could he have the opportunity to use Wing Chun? Using the ancient Wing Chun to run the power of the brand, and then using Wing Chun to fight. Ancient martial arts, would the mysterious energy have a chemical reaction? Regardless of whether it would or not, Charlotte was already tempted. With an idea there would be action. Charlotte awakened the power of the brand, and then used the internal force of Wing Chun to run the power of the brand. At that moment there was a sudden magical change in his body. The power of the brand was originally hidden in his brain, and the brain was the most fragile organ of the human body. Therefore, in the past, he would be very careful in the process of releasing the power of the brand, just like opening the floodgates to drain water. He could not open all the floodgates at once, otherwise the drainage channel would burst. But this time, he felt that his whole body was a drainage channel, his meridians, his blood vessels, and even his nerves. There were countless channels. What was even more strange was that the power of the brand came out of the brain in the past, and in the blink of an eye, it would be distributed throughout the body, and it was an average, but this time, it was all gathered in his dantian. The Sea of Qi Dantian was a saying in the martial arts world. This saying was recognized by Chinese medicine, but Western medicine scoffed at it. But it did exist, and it was indeed the place where everyone received nourishment in their mother's belly. It could even be said that it was the first initial organ of a human. If it did not exist, there would be no human existence. But after birth, that organ was replaced by the mouth. The baby used the mouth to drink milk, but the navel was sewn up. Therefore, after birth, the Sea of Qi Dantian was abandoned, and it was useless. Who would care about something that had no effect? Not to mention ordinary people, even Charlotte did not care about it. But this time, he suddenly discovered its mystery and its importance. The power of the brand gathered in the Sea of Qi Dantian, and the organ that was abandoned by human beings at the beginning of life was like a rusty machine that suddenly got lubricant and kinetic energy, and it started to rumble. Charlotte felt that the power in his body was rising rapidly, and his muscles were getting hotter and hotter, and his whole body was about to explode. Fight! With a roar, Charlotte moved, dodging and moving. His speed was faster than the wind, so fast that the ground was full of afterimages. He punched, and there was a buzzing sound on his fist. He punched, and there was a buzzing sound on his leg. Wing Chun fist was still the same Wing Chun fist. Those movements had not changed, but the power and speed had changed beyond recognition. Charlotte took a step forward and punched out. He could clearly feel the power of the imprint being released from his fist. Although he could not see it, he felt that his punch was not a fist, but a cannonball. Bang! A muffled sound. A rock at the edge of the flat ground shook, and the surface of the rock surprisingly cracked. Charlotte was excited, and he rushed up with another punch. Bang! Another muffled sound resounded as the rock shook once more before shattering into a dozen or so pieces. Charlotte suddenly leaped into the air. His body flew over a distance of about 10 meters. His right leg straightened, and he kicked a rock wall at the edge of the flat ground. Boom! The sound of a grenade exploding spread in the cave, and it could be heard from far away. Charlotte bounced back, and with a somersault, he landed in the starting position. His feet had just landed, and a large piece of the rock wall that was kicked by his flying leg fell. Charlotte's heart was filled with uncontrollable ecstasy. This was the result of using the internal force of Wing Chun fist to run the power of the brand. It was so good. Charlotte looked up and roared, "Why the fuck do I need a gun? I am a human weapon." His voice went straight to the sky. At this moment, a large shadow suddenly pressed down from the clouds, covering the sky. Charlotte became silly for a second. What the hell was that? Chapter 1438. A huge shadow fell from the sky. It was in the shape of a bird. Its wingspan was 1 kilometer to the east and 1 kilometer to the west. It was ridiculously huge. Was that an empty tank? If it was really as the Blue Dragon King described. It could run on the wings of an empty tank. For such a huge bird, it must weigh at least tens of thousands of tons, or even more, right? How much kinetic energy did it need to take off? What did it use to maintain flight for tens of thousands of miles? Charlotte couldn't help but think about these questions. He didn't believe that there was such a huge bird in this world. At this moment, his eyes pierced through the shadows and saw through the scene behind the shadows. His vision quickly penetrated the huge shadow and saw the truth. He was stunned. That huge shadow wasn't a bird, but a cloud carried by a bird. It was hidden in the cloud and people couldn't see it. It was huge, but it didn't have wings that were 1 kilometer long. Its wings were at most tens of meters long. It looked very similar to the dragons described in Western fantasy novels, the kind that could casually spit out hot dragon breath and destroy everything. Its body was covered in blue scales. Its wings weren't feathers, but flesh and bones. The flesh and bones were covered with a layer of blue scales. He suddenly remembered. Wasn't that the huge bird that Holy Thunder rode? The Blue Dragon King flew over and sent a message. My friend, the empty tank is here. The shadow in the sky suddenly disappeared and the empty tank appeared. With a dive, it landed on the peak of Dragon Mountain with a huge impact. Its position wasn't far from Charlotte and the Blue Dragon King. The dust and rock fragments that flew from its claws all hit Charlotte and the Blue Dragon King. Charlotte and the Blue Dragon King could also feel the terrifying tremors from the ground. This power could indeed tear the empty tank apart. This is an empty tank? It's not as huge as I thought. Looks like those legends were wrong. The Blue Dragon King was a little embarrassed. 2 days ago, it was bragging to Charlotte that it could run on the wings of an empty tank. It could ride on the real empty tank, but it definitely couldn't run. Even so, the space tank was the largest flying animal Charlotte had ever seen. Its true size was 2 to 3 times larger than AB-52. Charlotte thought to himself, many species in this world have an incredible ability. The Ahemus can secrete mucus, and the Ahemus skin color is an excellent camouflage in the forest. The animals in the Forest of Peace had powerful physiques, armor-like defenses, and terrifying strength. This space tank in front of me can fly with clouds and mist. It's almost a perfect camouflage in the sky. This is probably one of its special abilities, right? Just as Charlotte was imagining and sighing, Kong Tan walked towards Charlotte and the Blue Dragon King. It weighed at least a few hundred tons, and every step it took caused the ground to tremble. Some loose rocks were even directly smashed under its sharp claws. Kong Tan made a strange sound from its mouth. It didn't sound like a bird at all, but more like the sound of metal rubbing against each other. The sound was very uncomfortable to the ears. Charlotte's branding power energy field went up, and he quickly captured Kong Tan's brainwave. His brain also translated the message from Kong Tan. Human, come with me. The Queen of Rest is waiting for you. Charlotte sent his message to it. Okay, but please wait for me. I'll call my companions and go with you. I'll wait for you here. Kong Tan's message. Charlotte turned and walked towards the cave he was temporarily staying in, but after a few steps, he saw Lan Jie and Hao Fong walking out of the cave. All the blue dragons in the Blue Dragon tribe were roaring. Hao Fong and Lan Jie were attracted by the roars of the blue dragons. Damn! What a big bird! Hao Fong shouted excitedly. Hey! Big bird! I want to be friends with you! Lan Jie looked at Hao Fong with disdain. You think you're worthy? Traitor of the Empire, lackey of the pervert. Traitor of the Empire, lackey of the pervert. This was the trademark label that Lan Jie gave to Hao Fong. Motherf *****. Poisonous milk idiot. Hao Fong instantly retorted. I'll suggest to my boss that your milk must be sterilized before you can eat it. Otherwise, you'll definitely be poisoned to death. Enough. You too. Charlotte could not help but interrupt the war between the woman and the machine. Hurry up and pack your things. We're leaving. Hao Fong and Lan Jie then stopped bickering. Charlotte returned to the cave and carried his equipment bag. The crystal skeletal hand was in his equipment bag. This time, when he met with the Queen of Rest, he must find the answer from the Queen of Rest. After packing up and leaving the cave, a group of blue dragons suddenly ran towards the top of the mountain. A few blue dragons were still covered in blood. They seemed to be seriously injured. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that something happened? Roar! A blue dragon covered in blood roared in the direction of the Blue Dragon King. The Blue Dragon King rushed down. A group of blue dragons communicated in their own language. Charlotte quickly figured out what had happened. The truth also shocked him. 50 Blue Titans suddenly attacked the Blue Dragon's territory. They wanted the Blue Dragon tribe of Dragon Mountain to hand him over. Those Blue Titans that invaded the Blue Dragon's territory came to avenge the Blue Titan that he killed. Perhaps they came for the crystal skeletal hand. War. All Blue Dragons that can fight, come out. The Blue Dragon King's angry roar echoed throughout Dragon Mountain. The Blue Dragons that covered the mountains responded with angry roars. They began to run and gather. The scene made one's blood boil. Charlotte sent his message to the Blue Dragon King. "Let me fight with you." The Blue Dragon King's message. "No, you should leave with the Blue Titan. The Queen of Rest will not want you to fight for us. Your meeting with the Queen of Rest is more important." Charlotte sent a message. "This started because of me. I can't just leave like this. Let me fight with you. I'll go negotiate with the Blue Titan. Maybe I can convince it to help you fight." The Blue Dragon King did not refuse. It did not have complicated emotions like humans. Since Charlotte insisted on helping, it did not refuse. However, Charlotte's negotiation with the Blue Titan did not go smoothly. "You should come with me to the Canyon of Origin. You should not stay here and fight with the Blue Dragons." Dozens of Blue Titans were dispatched. Behind them was an even larger group. "If I help the Blue Dragons defeat them, they will gather more Blue Titans to come here for revenge. My help will only bring disaster to the Dragon Mountain tribe." The Blue Titan's message. Charlotte sent a message. "Then I'll go. You wait for me here." "Stubborn human, you are very strong. But you are not a match for the Blue Titans. I have to fight even if I am not a match. The Blue Dragons of the Dragon Mountain tribe helped me before. They are in danger now. I have to help them." Charlotte did not say anything more. He turned and left. Lan Ji caught up to Charlotte's footstep. "I'll go with you. It will be very dangerous. You and Hao Fong stay here and wait for me." Charlotte said. Lan Ji said, "You and I are people whose fates are linked. If you die, who will drink my milk? I want to see you fight with my own eyes. If you survive, I will." "What?" "I will milk you in advance." Lan Ji's face turned slightly blue. Charlotte wanted to reject her, but when he heard that she would milk him in advance, he immediately changed his mind. "Then come with me," Hao Fong shouted. "I want to go too. Back then, I was also a machine master who killed in and out of thousands of troops. I will definitely beat those Blue Titans until they look for their teeth on the ground." "Then you come too." Charlotte flipped over and got on the back of a blue dragon. A few hundred blue dragons that could fight rushed down the Dragon Mountain and entered the forest. The rumbling footsteps shook the earth, and the strong body knocked over the trees. This was no longer a charge of thousands of troops and horses, but a group of tanks charging towards the enemy's position. After traveling for about 10 kilometers, the Blue Dragon King brought his blue dragon to an open area. All the trees in this place had been cleared by the Blue Titans, forming a temporary battlefield. On the other side were 50 Blue Titans. On the other side were about 300 Blue Dragons led by the Blue Dragon King. In terms of numbers, the Blue Dragons clearly had a huge advantage. But in terms of overall strength, the stronger side was Lan Tan's side. One Blue Titan fighting 10 Blue Dragons alone was not a problem. If it was a group battle, the advantage of this combat strength would be even greater. But the Dragon Mountain Blue Dragon tribe did not have the slightest fear. The Blue Dragon King walked out of the formation and roared at the Blue Titans. Roar! The strongest Blue Titan walked out and roared at the Blue Dragon King. Roar! Roar! It seemed to be the leader of the Blue Titans. Charlotte put down his backpack, then reached his right hand into the backpack and grabbed the crystal hand bone. The imprint power was injected into the crystal hand bone, and in that instant, the universe imprint hidden in the depths of his soul suddenly appeared, establishing a magical connection with the crystal hand bone. Against an army of 50 blue dragons, the blue titan bone bow was obviously useless. The only thing he could use was the crystal hand bone, so he started preparing for the battle as soon as he got here. He wanted to activate the crystal hand bone like he did when he defeated the blue dragons and obtain that kind of powerful strength. That was the plan, but he was missing a key item, Archime's perfect blue milk. The universe imprint appeared and established a connection with the crystal hand bone, but this connection was very unstable. Before he could enter battle mode, the connection became intermittent. If he fought the blue titans in this state, it would not be a good thing. Xiaolei couldn't help but turn around to look at Lan Jie, who was sitting behind him. At this moment, he yearned for Lan Jie's pair of blue breasts that contained the rich Archime's blue milk. Then, he would lift her clothes and feed her until he was full. Then, he would go to the battlefield with the crystal skeletal hand. However, even if Lan Jie was willing to feed him now, there was not enough time. Lan Jie seemed to see through Charlotte's thoughts and she said nervously, "Don't mess around, I can't squeeze it out now." Charlotte took his hand out of the equipment bag and handed it to her. "Help me hold the bag and lend me your ice soul dagger." Lan Jie looked at Charlotte dumbfounded. "You actually want to use a dagger to fight the blue titans?" Charlotte said, "I saw that you used your ice soul dagger to cut the blue titan's skin as easily as cutting paper. Lend it to me, I'll use it to kill the blue titans." "You're crazy." Although that was what she said, Lan Jie still took out the ice soul dagger, the heirloom of the Archime's empire, and handed it to Charlotte. Charlotte jumped off the blue dragon's back with the ice soul dagger, and strode toward the blue dragon king who was confronting the blue titan's leader. At this moment, he captured the message of the blue titan's leader. "Hand over that human. He killed my son and stole my son's treasure. Hand over that human and the treasure, and I will give up the war. Otherwise, we will destroy your tribe." Chapter 1439. The Blue Dragon King did not back down. "That human is an esteemed guest that the Queen of Rest wants to see. Are you going to become enemies with the Queen of Rest? Leave this place. If you want war, then let it be. You should know the consequences." The blue tank leader was furious. "You will all die. Blue dragons never fear death." The Blue Dragon King was unyielding. "Then go to hell." The Blue Titan leader roared angrily. On the other side, the blue tank's battle formation started to move. They walked towards the center of the battlefield, waiting for the blue tank leader to give another signal, and they would attack. Once the battle started, it would be a bloodbath. At this moment of mutual hostility, Xiaolei suddenly roared. Then, his voice resounded throughout the battlefield. "I am the human who killed your kind. Don't you want to seek revenge? Then send out your strongest blue tank to fight me. We will settle this with a duel. Do you dare? Do you dare?" These words were an unbearable insult to the blue tanks. Although the blue tanks could not understand Charlotte's language, with the help of the branding power, all the blue tanks and blue dragons could understand his voice. The blue tanks that ruled the second district of the Forest of Rest, the second strongest beast in the Forest of Rest, when had they ever been provoked and insulted like this? Just as Charlotte finished speaking, the blue tank leader roared at him. "I will take revenge for my son. Come out, I will tear you to pieces." "Then do you agree to my suggestion?" Charlotte sent a message. "Agree. After killing you, I will leave." The blue tank leader sent a message. Charlotte walked towards the blue tank leader. "My friend, you should leave this place. You will be killed by the blue tank. If you die, how will the Queen of Rest meet you?" The Blue Dragon King sent a message, full of worry. Charlotte turned around and smiled. "I won't die. You helped me before, I will help you now. I will use the Forest of Rest's method to solve the problem, trust me, my friend." The Blue Dragon King didn't try to dissuade him anymore. Even if it didn't believe that Charlotte could defeat the leader of the Blue Titans, it respected Charlotte's courage. Fool, he's really a fool. Lan Ji muttered to herself, her heart filled with worry and anxiety. But just like the Blue Dragon King, her heart was filled with respect as she watched Charlotte's skinny back view as he walked towards the mountain-like blue tank leader. To fight against a blue tank leader with his bare hands, what kind of courage, what kind of boldness was this? Charlotte stopped in front of the Lan Tan leader. He sent a message to the Lan Tan leader, "If I kill you, will they leave? You are the most arrogant human I have ever seen. If you kill me, they will still leave." Blue Titan's leader's message carried a sense of disdain. "But that kind of thing will never happen. I will give you a very painful death, then eat you and turn you into shit." Charlotte shrugged. "Then what are you waiting for? Roar!" Blue Titan's leader roared and suddenly charged towards Charlotte. His body was like a moving fortress, carrying a thunderous aura, but his speed was also extremely fast. That speed was like a supercar that was fully sprinting. If Charlotte was hit by such a charge, his body would be torn into pieces in a second. But facing such a charge, Charlotte didn't even make a move to dodge. "Are you crazy? Dodge!" Lan Ji shouted at Charlotte in a panic. She didn't realize that Charlotte was more nervous when facing danger than she was when facing danger herself. Luckily, she covered her eyes too. But at this critical moment, Charlotte's feet suddenly stomped on the ground, and his body shot up from the ground. He instantly flew more than 10 meters high, then like a javelin, he stabbed towards the head of the Blue Titan leader. Boom! A dull sound of impact rang out. Blue Titan's head suddenly drooped, and it almost fell to the ground. But Charlotte had already used the rebound force to somersault backwards, far away from the attack range of Blue Titan leader. Blue Titan leader shook its head twice, and it seemed to have a slight concussion. Everyone's eyes were wide open and their faces were filled with astonishment. Who would believe that a human kid could kick a Blue Titan until it was dizzy? Blue Titan leader recovered in the blink of an eye. It was humiliated, and its dignity was swept to the ground. How could it let this go? Roar! Blue Titan leader charged towards Charlotte like a madman, but a distance of more than 10 meters was not a distance to him at all. He launched another attack, and in an instant, he was in front of Charlotte. He opened his bloody mouth and bit towards Charlotte. Its opened mouth could allow Charlotte to stand on its tongue with his back straight, and it would not touch his head. But its left claw was not left on the ground. It was very smart. If this time, it jumped up and kicked its head like last time, it would slap Charlotte into a meat patty. But this time, Charlotte did not jump up and kick its head. Charlotte suddenly moved horizontally, and instantly dodged Blue Titan leader's attack. His right fist also landed on Blue Titan leader's lower jaw in that instant. Bang! The Blue Tank leader's head tilted to the side after being punched in the jaw. A tooth flew out together with blood. Blue Titan leader's body continued to charge forward under the inertia, and Charlotte's punch almost made it lose its balance and fall to the ground. Everyone was shocked, and their jaws dropped to the ground. Roar! Blue Titan leader stopped, roared, and rushed towards Charlotte again. It was completely enraged. Charlotte did not dodge, nor did he retreat. He actually rushed towards Blue Titan leader. Collide? Lan Tan and Lan Long, as well as Hao Fong and Lan Jie, who were watching the battle, were dumbfounded. Whoosh! Just as they were about to collide, Charlotte suddenly leaped into the air, over the Blue Titan leader's head, and landed on its back. Roar! Blue Titan leader turned its head and wanted to swallow Charlotte, but what greeted it was Charlotte's ridiculously small fist. Bang! Charlotte's fist once again landed on Blue Titan leader's lower jaw. Another tooth mixed with blue blood flew out of Blue Titan leader's bloody mouth. Blue Titan leader's head turned around and originally wanted to swallow Charlotte, but Charlotte's fist actually pulled its head back. This time, Blue Titan could no longer control its body's balance and fell to the ground with a bang. This was the actual combat effect of using the internal force of Wing Chun Fist to operate the power of the brand. Of course, with Xia Lei's strength, even with the power of the brand, he would not be able to knock a blue titan to the ground with one punch. However, as long as the method was appropriate, he could accomplish this miracle with little effort. Thick dust rolled up from under Blue Titan Leader's body. Charlotte leaped and rode on Blue Titan Leader's neck, then gathered all the power of the brand on his right fist and punched the Blue Titan Leader's eye. Blue Titan Leader's eyes were like two lanterns to him, but even with such large eyes, they were definitely Blue Titan's weak organs. Bang! The steel-like right fist landed on Blue Titan's left eye. Blood splattered, and Blue Titan Leader's left eye immediately swelled up. Blue Titan Leader got up from the ground and jumped crazily, but Charlotte was like a flea stuck to its body. No matter how it jumped, it could not get rid of Charlotte. During this process, Xia Lei's fists rained down on its eyes and nose, leaving it with a bloody nose and swollen face. It was not a problem to take one or two fists that could shatter rocks through the air, but raindrops hitting the most vulnerable parts of the body, even Blue Titan could not take it. Roar! Blue Titan Leader was mad. It suddenly jumped up high from the ground, then flipped in the air and smashed its back to the ground. With its weight, even a tank would be smashed into a discus. "Be careful," Lan Jie exclaimed. But before her voice completely flew out of her throat, Charlotte's body had already flown out of the Blue Titan Leader's body. Boom! The Blue Tank Leader's back landed heavily on the ground, and the ground shook violently. Dust and rock fragments flew in all directions from the shockwave. Blue Titan Leader got up from the ground, and there was a big pit under its body. That big pit looked like it had been blasted with a lot of explosive. It was very terrifying. At this moment, the Blue Tank Leader was no longer as majestic as before. Both of its eyes were swollen from Xia Lei's beating, and the bridge of its nose was crooked. The corners of its eyes, nostrils, and mouth were all dripping with blue blood. It looked as pathetic as one could imagine. "I will definitely eat you, one bite at a time." The Blue Tank Leader's message came with an uncontrollable rage. Its swollen eyes released a flame of hatred, a flame that was enough to burn everything. Charlotte seemed very calm. In the battle just now, he had already verified the power of using Wing Chun's internal force to operate the power of the brand. If before the battle, he was still secretly nervous and uncertain when he walked towards Blue Titan Leader, then at this moment, he was full of confidence. He didn't put Blue Titan Leader in front of him in his eyes at all. Charlotte slowly pulled out the ice soul dagger that Lan Jie gave him from his belt. "I think our battle is over, and you should leave with your Blue Titan." "The battle is not over. Only one of us can leave this battlefield. Your fist is very powerful, but you can't hurt me at all. There will be a time when your strength is exhausted, and when that time comes, I will make you wish you were dead." Blue Titan Leader's message, even if it was beaten black and blue by Charlotte, it still believed that it could kill Charlotte. And at this moment, it only had one thought, and that was that it had to kill Charlotte. Charlotte sent a message: "It's not that I'm afraid of you, I just don't want to kill you. Since you said that only one of us can leave this battlefield, then you can lie here forever." Roar! Blue Titan Leader rushed towards Charlotte. Charlotte held the dagger and rushed towards Blue Titan Leader. One man and one beast fought again. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.